We are live. This is the CHRILLCAST Live. I'm your host, Chris.
And I'm Andrew.
And if you guys don't remember Andrew, which you should, he was the Who's That Pokemon. He was the new co-host listed in here, along with Will and myself. And going forward, he's going to be a more prominent host with myself and Will. So going forward, I just expect that at least one of the three of us will always be on. I don't think we're going to make Andrew do a solo one for a while, though, unless he really feels comfortable doing that kind of thing. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that'll be a while.
But hopefully you all got some kicks out of my last-minute thumbnail I threw up there, which was a flaming PC. And, yeah, that's that. We'll be having an updated thumbnail at some point, but I just thought, you know what? This actually happened to me one time. Maybe I should tell that story real quick, but we're going to be talking about software and firmware updates, kind of like the pre-internet era, the post-internet era, and all of the things we thought were going to happen and all the things that did actually happen as a result of that. So this will be a fun one. I'm going to start with the story where my PC actually did catch fire in like the early 2000s. It did happen. That actually freaking happened. I was on YouTube of all things, early, but actually it must have been mid 2000s then. But I had an old PC with a CRT monitor, like very old, like 90s style CRT that just kept going for a long time. Things are working, you don't ever get rid of it, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Well, as I am trying to watch, must have been like a Linkin Park or something music video. Of course, a Pepsi commercial comes on, right? And the Pepsi commercial was like one of those famous Britney Spears ads. And she's like dancing and going crazy on screen.
Everything happening.
And then all of a sudden, I look up and the monitor is like smoking, like, and like my whole room starts. The CRT starts filling the room with smoke. It's like, and I'm like, oh no! So let's turn it off. And then walks my mom, like, what are you watching in here? Why is Britney Spears on the screen?
You just had the most, if it had fire and everything, that might have been just special effects from your monitor. Just kind of...
You know what they always say about electronics? If you let the smoke out, they die. You ever heard that one before?
No, I've never heard that one.
That's a well-known industry quote by, I don't remember who, but it was said a lot where I was going to college and in the workplace.
See, if it had been your actual desktop that had caught on fire, I was going to say maybe you should have cleaned out the dust and stuff.
Speaking of which, I did just clean out one of my fans because it was like literally grinding with the corner. It was super loud. So I was like, nope, I'm done with that. I'm not going to be sitting here with that going on.
See, the best thing about moving is I had the perfect excuse to like clean out things as I was resetting everything up, and yeah, my desktop just only like 2 years had too much dust in it for my liking, way too much.
So I got to ask you, Andrew, since you lived in no man's land growing up, where would you say was the first time you saw a console or PC update for a game you were playing?
Oh shit! I mean, that's I'd have to say, because I went back and forth, right?
Xbox and PlayStation or PC?
No. I had two different. My parents were divorced. So I had two different. I had one who had the internet and one who didn't for the longest time.
Fair.
And then I would say I didn't really experience it too much until PlayStation 3.
PS3.
Yeah. PlayStation 3, and that was a torturous thing for me because I was like using 3G. So my internet setup at one point was the thumb drive for Altel back in the day, and that was plugged into a laptop, which was then Etherneted to my PS3. So the struggle was real when you had the big software and firmware updates, because it would be like a day-long event.
Oh yeah, that would be. And then not to mention the PS3's updates were already so slow.
Yeah.
That not only are you dealing with slow internet, but you're dealing with the fact that the PS3's actual back end was slow as all get out.
So it was a day-long thing. Like I remember that shit taking 24 plus hours.
Right.
That was my first experience with that stuff. And it was just like, I hate this so much. Hate it.
I can't imagine why you would hate it that much.
Yeah. No, it was just like you'd come back from school and you're like, crap, I was expecting to play a game tonight. That's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When was yours?
For
consoles, at least. For consoles, obviously. PC.
It would have been the 360 back in 2005-6 time frame because.
Okay, so roughly the same time frame.
Because the PS3 came out what 06? I believe it was 06.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
Because I had a PS3, but I got my PS3 way later. Yeah, 06.
See, I got mine early. I got mine real early.
Yeah, 2006 was the PS3. PS3 was where I really started to experience bad times with the internet. Because I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I got a PS3.
Yeah,
but
PS3
the 360, we got that on launch. And
I think the PS3 is going to be like one of the stars of this for the experience.
Well, between the DDS attacks that happened later on. But going backwards, though, I mean, the Xbox 360 had that really cool Blades dashboard when it launched, which was really nice. And then as time went on, the 360 dashboards, here, I'm going to pull up some pictures, but they would update it and they would change the entire layout. The 360 probably had the most changes to its dashboard of any system I have ever used in my entire life. Like the Wii and the Wii U never changed. It was the same thing no matter what.
The PlayStation 3 didn't change either.
No, it was XMB, the cross media bar the whole time.
Yeah,
here's a good one right here.
I'll be completely honest, that was my favorite dashboard.
Oh yeah, between the
PS3 has the best dashboard ever, I thought. I think the
PSP had the same one. Technically, one version of the PS2 had the same thing. There was even talks that the Vita was originally going to have that same dashboard. Oh, 1 second. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, didn't they make the... Oh. You're still muted.
Sorry about that. I had the baby monitor on. She just woke up for a second and she's going back to sleep. Anyways, but I didn't want her to be crying on the podcast. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, look at this. This was the original one. Was this one right here? That was the first dashboard for the 360. And then
I remember that because I hated that so much when I first saw it. It looked awful.
Blades was easy, okay, and that was let's put advertisements in your actual home screen, which is so. I paid for the service. I paid for the 360. Why am I getting advertising in my home page on my console? That is stupid. That is like nobody should be accepting of that. Like Xbox, I'm calling you out here. That is the stupidest thing that you could do to a consumer, but people just rolled with it. So I guess you guys.
In fairness, Xbox has always pushed the boundary of how they can abuse you as a user. Just saying, like
even the PS4 still to this day. You have to dive into some deeper menus to find advertising in the menu.
To find advertising, you literally have to be on the shop.
No, you can find, if you go to the TV section where you can get the apps, then they have some advertising there. Like I'm saying, you got to go into the menus. But
you have to be somewhere where they sell. They have to be
in your face.
Right. I mean, you have to be somewhere though where they sold something. You know what I mean? Like for PlayStation, you have to be where they're selling stuff. Right, exactly.
But the home screen of the 360, up until even now, it still has advertising, and I'm like, how is this even like? It's like when Madden added advertising to the load screens or the Madden Ultimate Team stuff. It's like nobody wanted that. There's nobody wants that.
There's so much monetization in that.
But this was definitely my first experience with like firmware software updates really changing things dramatically. Now, there were other things that were affected. Like, for example, the PS3, when it launched, had the alternate OS, which was patched out in a software update. And there was actually a lawsuit that Sony lost, and they had to pay out all the owners that could prove they wanted to use Linux on top of the standard operating system of the PS3. So there's another thing. Sony did do something stupid as well.
For the longest time, though, people were still using PS3s as actual computers.
Well, the military famously, I think, how many did they use? I can't. And they actually, the software update broke it, but there was like a PS3 supercomputer for the military. I'm trying to remember, and they actually had to block software updates on it. Oh yeah, here's some pictures of it.
I mean, people were trying to use, if I remember correctly, people were trying to use PlayStation 3s to mine cryptocurrency at one point, even. Like, that, it was just a powerful machine that you could actually make it into a computer, basically.
Right, because there's so this is called the PlayStation 3 Cluster. It was a distributed computer system comprised primarily of PlayStation 3 game consoles. It was before the PlayStation 3's release and during its production lifetime. Considerable computing capability of the console cell microprocessors, which, by the way, is still actually pretty powerful when placed together like this. It could be networked for various tasks that require affordable high-performance computing. Let's see. There was one that was built by the National Center for Supercomputing Applications. There was North Carolina State, I guess Physics Department at University of Massachusetts, and then the Air Force Research Laboratory in 2010 called the Condor Cluster. Set 1,760 PS3s. Imagine if they did that with PS5. So we'd be like, the Air Force is scalping consoles.
I just find it hilarious too, right? Because I mean, it was just impressive for the price point.
Oh yeah,
that's really what it was. It was.
But yeah, so in March 28th, 2010, Sony announced it would be disabling the ability to run other operating systems post V3.21 update. So there you go. This ties into our software updates, firmware updates. Due to security concerns, jailbreaking, homebrew, that's the real reason. Due to other OS. This update did not affect any existing supercomputing clusters due to the fact that they are not connected to PSN would not be forced to update. However, it would make replacing the individual consoles that compose the clusters very difficult, if not impossible. This caused the end of the PS3's common use for cluster computing, though there are projects like the Condor that were still being created with older PS3 units and have come online after April 1st, 2010. So, good stuff. I know that they were looking for older PS3s when they built that, so that was pretty neat. Actually, that's one of the coolest things that Sony did with the PS3 was build this supercomputer cluster ability. But yeah, so there's that. That was a different thing. And other OS. Let's talk about that. Did you ever do anything with other OS?
No, I didn't. Hey, man, let's look back at it. I didn't have good internet for the.
Yeah, but other OS didn't require the internet. It was a Linux alternative OS.
Yeah, but it's like, what would I be using it for?
Oh, fair enough.
It's at that point, how do I get to utilize it?
Yeah, so other OS here was Ubuntu. So it lets you put FreeBSD. Oh, FreeBSD. That's actually what the iPhone runs on. It's either FreeBSD or OpenBSD, but it's essentially the same thing. But yeah, other OS could run this. There's Ubuntu, Yellow Dog Linux, Open. I'm going to call it OpenSUS, but that's not what it means. And then I guess Fedora. But I know the whole reason why Sony disabled this via a software update was to limit homebrew and jailbreak. Like they didn't want people hacking into the systems because with other OS,
I mean, I was gonna say, you have to remember too that Sony was getting hit real hard in 2010 with all of the they were getting DOSed and everything. It was pretty bad. The whole network was just being shut down. Yeah. And weren't there lawsuits associated with that too? I thought there were.
Well, when they pulled other OS out of the system, that was when supposedly the folks at Anonymous decided to DDoS.
I thought they got in trouble though. They needed to compensate people for the time they were down.
Oh yeah, no, I got a free copy of Little Big Planet, Wipeout.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It was a super big deal for Sony.
I'm trying to remember exactly when. So that was let's see, it wasn't other OS. Let's find out. PS3.
Sony's been the target for a lot of cybersecurity issues. Even their Hollywood studios and stuff. Remember when?
Yeah, they lost a lot of credit card information and actors' information,
and then like movie scripts were leaked. They had like a couple of years where they were just getting hammered.
Yeah, so here we go. Sony stated on April 26th that it was attempting to get online services running within a week, which, by the way, it was like a month, if I remember correctly. On May 14th, Sony released PlayStation 3 firmware version 3.61 as a security patch. The firmware required users to change their account passwords upon signing in. At the time the firmware was released, the network was still offline. Regional restoration was announced by Kazuo Hirai in a video from Sony. A map of regional restoration and network within the United States was shared as the service was coming back online. So yeah, that was a pretty crazy situation. It definitely happened on April 20th, and it didn't come back online until around May 14th. So you're talking like a whole month of PlayStation services.
It wasn't not a whole month, just shy.
But that's a long time. Shy. And they gave people access to let's see.
But they weren't PlayStation Plus at that time either, right?
You got you got free PlayStation Plus if you were part of this for like a.
But I'm saying it wasn't mandatory.
No, it wasn't mandatory.
So it was a free service. There was just like a lot of private information being released that they
right.
So,
all right, let's see here. So. Sony Entertainment granted 30 days of free time on PS Plus. Sony Online Entertainment, that's right. For plus 1 day for each day the server's down. To users of Clone Wars Adventure. I'm trying to remember what games they get. Oh, here we go. Compensation to users. Sony hosted special events after PlayStation Network returned to service. Sony stated that they had plans for PS3 versions of DC Universe Online, Free Realms, Hulu compensated people. Here's the games that you could have gotten in North America. Wipeout HD Fury, that's the one I got, and Little Big Planet. I already had Infamous. I wasn't going to get that. Dead Nation, and then Super Stardust HD, which I had no idea what that even was. So I definitely didn't get that one. And then
I think I got the Wipeout actually.
Apparently, if you lived in Europe, you got Ratchet & Clank Quest for Booty.
I mean, that would have been the one to get.
Yeah.
Probably. Looking at the list.
We should have got that one. What the heck?
They
did not get
Infamous
or Dead Nation in Germany, though. Apparently, they
why
is
Europe and Germany separate?
I know, it's so weird.
Why? Like, just because they got 2 extra games to choose from?
They lost 2
instead of Infamous and Dead Nation. Which, the real question is, I see why Sony put Infamous on the list. Everyone already freaking owned it.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we'll give you one of our most popular games. You already all own it, so.
I didn't know that you could get PSP games for free. I totally would have done that. They had Little Big Planet. I had a PSP at the time. What the heck? I should have gotten my free games from PSP. They had Little Big Planet, Mod Nation Racers, which is pretty good Mario Kart.
They actually had a significantly better list for PSP games.
Killzone Liberation, that was a good game. So was Resistance Retribution, or whatever one that one was on the PSP as well. What did I do to deserve this, my lord, as a game?
I don't know, but that seems ironic given what happened.
That's a good point. That's amazing.
Like, anyways. I feel like if they only really gave that game away for free, that would have been the ultimate, like, we're sorry, troll. That would have been hilarious.
Do you remember Patapon? It was like the commercials of Patapon. And that was like the little guys going across the
street. I do remember that. It was horrible.
I had that game for a minute. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be. It was like a rhythm fighting action game. Although there wasn't much fighting, it was more like, rhythm platforming almost more than anything else. So looking at this, it's
I love the one other title name, Everybody Stress Buster, and that was for Japan.
Oh my gosh! And apparently the rest of Asia. So it's Hot Shots Golf. Okay, so it's
okay, but
golf.
It's funny that the fact that it's Everybody's Stress Buster. That's funny.
Yeah, Everybody's Golf. So this is basically the same game, Everybody's Golf. No, I take it back because it's the PS1 version. Okay. No, it's not the same thing. So, I mean, pre-PSN, you had some, I mean, not pre-PSN, pre-PS3, Xbox 360, you had some online play, a lot less updates, but you had like the original Xbox had online, PS2 had online, the GameCube had online. Did you know that?
Actually, I think I did.
I believe it was only Phantasy Star Online was the only game I think that actually did anything.
It's like one of the few features you would see something existed, but you never used it.
Yeah, exactly.
They
actually have an add-on for the GameCube that you had to buy to get online. I'm trying to remember. Literally the GameCube internet attached. I almost bought one just to have it because I thought it was so ridiculous. Yeah, see, it's this little thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a modem because it literally uses old school modems. So with this, you could go online with Phantasy Star Online. It connects to the bottom of your GameCube. And I was like, you know what? I got the Game Boy player. Why not get something like this just to have one more thing connected? There's technically like 3 add-on spots on the GameCube, and I can't remember what the third one's used for. But that's one of them that exists. That's a thing. And I think it was only, let's see, broadband. Oh, yeah, there was also the broadband. So there's modem and broadband. There's 2 of them. I think this one's way more. Yep. Look at that, 150 for used.
I would never spend that much.
Play GameCube games such as Phantasy Star Online with. You mean the only one you can do that with? Yeah, let's see here.
Yeah, I mean, it really did come with PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Oh yeah, and it was the only way you could hook up a LAN. So if you wanted a game that had LAN ability for multiplayer, like 8-player games, you could do it that way too. That was another thing. I forgot about that. That was also something you could do. Or you could just get the Wii and get the USB connection, and that was a thing as well. And you could use that for, like, the original Wii had GameCube support, like native. And if you got the USB to broadband adapter, then you can just hook that up, and that same idea, way cheaper than buying this $150 broadband connector from 2001 or whatever.
Yeah, the Wii was pretty successful for a reason. Let's be honest.
It was. Well, USB honestly just makes systems so much easier to use, and adapters are much easier to get.
The Wii in general was pretty good at being user friendly.
Oh yeah, like
and the price point never hurt it.
Right. Like I think the cheapest I ever saw the Wii brand new was $100, and that was for the Wii Mini. Do you remember that?
Yeah, actually, yes. The Wii Mini, which was like
no internet. They did hack that though, and besides, so the Wii Mini is interesting because it never got any software updates. It was like post Wii, they launched this little mini bundle called the Wii Mini. And the only way it got software updates was if there was a new Wii game announced. Then Nintendo, which was a very smart thing, would include the updates on the disc, which the 360 did when it first released. If you didn't have good internet, then you could just rely upon new discs released from Microsoft would have the updates on it. So for the Wii Mini, if there were any games released post Wii Mini by Nintendo, which I don't think there were very many, maybe a few, then those games would introduce the updates directly from the disc. So some Wii discs would require the new update, and then just roll it through on the disc. Boom, good to go. No internet required. This is also the most reliable revision of the Wii, but it doesn't have any way to output to HDMI. It's only composite. So it's also one of the lowest quality outputs. Now, I think you can hack it to add. I'm pretty sure you can hack it to add a component, but still, it's like if you're gonna pick your Wii, you're probably not picking this one. Yeah. See, it cannot output 480p. That's what I remembered. So it cannot output 480p. So basically, the Wii Mini can only output in composite, which is 240p 480i. It's the lowest quality output from any Wii possible, but it is also like the least likely to fail. It's also
cheap as crap. So
it is.
You're getting what you paid for. Let's be honest.
But it is interesting because these were hacked eventually, despite the fact they didn't have internet. They were eventually hacked for no reason, really, for literally no reason.
Just prove it. Let's just prove they can do it.
as far as portable consoles for the Nintendo, they had the DS, which was hacked, and there was also Sony's PSP, which is one of the most widely hacked consoles of all time. Did you have a PSP?
No, I only got into the, as discussed previously, I got out of the handhelds when I got salty about the transition from Game Boy Advance to DS, being like a really terrible timeline in my opinion. And then I didn't get back into handhelds until the Vita.
UMDs, baby. I was a little salty about the fact that there was no way to get your UMDs onto your Vita. That was a little... I know that there's like no good way to do that other than Sony just saying, hey, here's a credit for you buying the UMDs, put it on your Vita, but still.
I feel like the handheld lasted long enough that it's okay. Like, just
if you still got a PSP, they work. They pretty much work.
They had the PSP out for quite a long time before they did the Vita.
Did you know there's a version of the PSP that's like the Wii Mini? Oops, my face is not like. There we go.
Yes. The
it's
one
called
that's just
the PSP Street. It's like, whoa, that is a weird looking image. It only came out in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's got all of the internals, I believe the PSP 3000, except that it has a capacitive touch bar on the bottom, because that makes sense.
See, that's the one reason that Sony decided to get gimmicky with their handheld, and I'm still salty that they made a touchpad on the back instead of just making it a solid controller with a screen.
Hey, you know what? You could just do what I did and add your own R2L2 onto it.
See, but that's what I'm saying right there. You
ask me how much
that.
Ask me how much this add-on cost.
It doesn't matter. The
$60 for a plastic case.
The second you need an add-on like that, you have to admit that there's a fundamental flaw with the handheld. There's a fundamental flaw. You have to admit that.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like the reason it wasn't successful is that fundamental flaw.
What's the main reason for firmware and base software updates?
The main reason, if we want to be honest.
Yes. What's the main reason?
Well, they have to either fix something that they screwed up, or they decided to put it out before fixing it and figured they could fix it on the back end.
Or third reason, the reason why Sony always updates their systems considerably often is to prevent the hacking community from getting ahead of them.
Well, okay, that's also fair.
That's pretty much the main reason why Sony updates the Vita still, why Sony updates the PS3 still, why they update the PS4 and the PS5 considerably more often than they did the PS3. Pretty much across the board, the reason why. I have that PSP in white, the awful version. You have the Street? There's a PSP Street that's white. I've only seen the black model. Anyway, thanks, Pete, for joining the discussion. Appreciate you being here. I know it's this classy gaming fun, but we also know it's Pete. He used to be OEB Pete, and he's changed his name. He went into a witness protection. No, I'm just kidding. But Pete's a cool dude. Go check out his channel. Classy gaming fun. Always very positive. Good source for information. All right, moving on to the reason why they update that. Now, what is the reason why we get updates on gaming software? Because obviously it's not for hacking. Nobody's hacking games. Well, I mean, maybe on the PC, but
I mean, now this one, it's 100% the laziness.
Oh yeah, 100%. It never was that way to begin with. No, I mean, think about it. Like Halo 3 launched almost a perfect game. I had no issues with Halo 3 when it launched. And then the updates always brought new features, and that was a good thing.
Well, I feel like there's been a blending between software updates to fix the game and bugs and DLC. There's been like a blending of that service almost over time, where like they can release a game almost early access, get fully funded, not have any expectations that they can't just fix it later. There's no reputational cost really, and then they come out with bug fixes whenever they can, and then they don't even fix all of them. It's just what's popularly found. Biggest games I can think of, just think of Skyrim.
Oh yeah, PS3 Skyrim was a problem. I had to get rid of that game.
I don't think they ever actually fixed it.
They did, really. But they didn't.
They did and they didn't, right? They came up with like a workaround, but didn't actually fix it once you like played long enough.
It's Bethesda. Do you think they fix anything? They let the community fix it for them.
And then, do you remember Assassin's Creed Unity?
I never played Assassin's Creed until like way later.
So like Assassin's Creed Unity had this issue where like all the characters were like just losing their outer shells.
Oh,
so you just like yeah, look it up.
Is this the one where like you see the eyeballs?
Just the eyeballs, right?
Yeah,
like, you
okay,
had like
the
skeleton, the spine with just the eyeballs and stuff.
I'm 90% sure. Yeah, I remember how bad.
Yeah, no, it was huge. It was like a huge, right? Elongated necks and just.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
right.
This is. Yep,
Skulls.
I remember how bad.
Yeah.
And this video is no longer going to be monetized friendly, but that's okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, like the fact that this existed, right? Ubisoft.
Oh God, yeah.
So this is so bad.
This is one of the worst things that Ubisoft ever put out.
Right. And then it completely took away from the fact that the story existed.
Yeah, like how could you play through a game that looked like this?
See, I never experienced it. That's the thing. I bought the game right away, and I never had the glitch on mine for some reason. I don't know, but
it must have been like if you did a specific series of steps that would start causing this, and it must have been a pretty common series of steps.
It was
must be like a rare exception.
Yeah, maybe I didn't play the specific mission properly.
Yeah, you might have done something different in a different order than everybody else did, but I do remember all the memes about Assassin's Creed Unity having these issues. Yeah, so fixing that would definitely have been like a top priority for Ubisoft.
And it doesn't help too that like this was the game that they finally moved away from Ezio, and it's like, oh, we already
Ezio's haunting the new game.
Yeah, we already wanted a reason as a fan base to not like it as much. So you guys just like really did yourselves a
disservice trying to do that.
Yeah.
They almost look like in the hood here. It almost looks like the was it not the Ewoks, the little guys in Star Wars.
Oh goodness, yeah.
I can't think of it. Anyway, I'm gonna get off of there before we completely demonetize the podcast because that is disgusting and disturbing. One of the other real famous updates, like you said, Skyrim. So one of the things that happened with that game was when it released on the PS3, the save file, I don't remember if it was like more save files would be added or if the file just kept increasing and double. Like every time you saved, it would double the size of the file.
It just kept getting bigger and bigger, and then everything you started basically treadmilling in the game, where like you would like in place. And then the environment would just glitch around you. That's what I remember. And water would glitch you out. That at one point the water would always glitch you out.
What's funny is that was my first real experience with a Elder Scrolls game was Skyrim on the PS3. Yeah. And once I found out about this, I dumped that game faster than ever. Like I was like, nope. Because my PS3 was on the last like. I didn't even realize I had saved because I save a lot. When I play these kind of games, I save a lot. And I was like, I am not about to destroy my PS3 I just bought with Skyrim. No way.
Maybe that helped do mine in. I don't know.
So, yeah.
I told you what happened to my first PS3, right?
No.
The disc reader started pockmarking my...
Oh, really?
My discs, yeah. Oof. It was just wiping the game off of it. Good news is it only damaged my Call of Duty Black Ops. Everything else was not being played at the time. So
that's insane.
Okay. Yeah, it looked like a spider web on it. It was.
Oh my gosh!
Just kept like zapping it.
It's like this game, not for you.
No. It happened during when all my friends and I were playing zombies nonstop.
Dude, Zombies was great. Dude, Black Ops 1 and 2 were two of the best zombie game modes ever. And World at War even was good too. I'll give World at War some props because I would have never gotten into Call of Duty Zombies if I hadn't played World at War.
But like, see, here's the thing too, right? I feel like this whole, you can fix things on the back end. Like when I said it bled into the DLC too, right? It's like it made it where the expectation for DLC became significantly like the bar was lowered, extremely lowered. So you were now getting like diminished expansions to games. Whereas when they couldn't just do it as a software update kind of thing, they were having to like sell you on like almost a whole second mini game. I'm thinking like what EA actually did with Dragon Age.
Oh,
no, so Dragon Age Origins, right? They then came out with Dragon Age Awakening or whatever it was called, which was like an add-on of sorts to the first one. You could like take your character into it and stuff. It was a cheaper. It was like the $45 mark instead of the full 60, if I remember correctly. But it was like a whole nother game, but not like a full one.
I do think that at the original conception of online gaming and updates and DLC, you got like actual content out of it. It wasn't like what it is now, or microtransaction. Yes, because like every Halo 3 release, because that was really the only game I was buying DLC for besides Mass Effect, was like it was $5. It would come with like 4 maps, bonus stuff. You got extra things.
Right.
It was like actual content.
It was $5, right? And then they started ramping up the cost for that, like $10. Then I've seen them where they're like $15, right? It's
for like different map packs and stuff. Yeah,
it's like it eventually didn't it become like $15 for that 4 map pack?
Not on Halo 3. I mean, maybe
for like Call of Duty.
Call of Duty did, yes. Call of Duty when they released their bonus pack. But I will give Call of Duty a small pass because when they did that, you got extra zombie maps too. It wasn't just the multiplayer.
True, but I'm just saying, like in the early days, I felt actually priced right, and now it feels like a money grab. Especially when they do even when they do the year, season pass. Like it's still it's still the same price. It feels like if you just bought them individually, but no, like early expansions actually felt good to buy because you weren't getting ripped off, and then later it's just they definitely squeezed it just a bit.
Would you say that over time the amount of games released in a more beta state has increased or decreased?
Definitely increased.
Oh yeah, like
definitely.
What would you say is the most famous one of the last 3 years?
Oh sheesh, which one? I can't remember.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Well, yeah, no, yep. Yeah. You see, here's the thing. I forgot about it because I just wiped it from my memory because I thought it was going to be a good game.
It is a good game now.
But let me put it this way. I learned my lesson prior to this game to just wait.
Yes.
So I was excited for it, but I wouldn't buy it until I saw how it actually played out. So I never bought it. That's the long story short. I
got it for Christmas the year it came out, and by the time I got it, the original update was already out, which fixed a lot of things. But I played it on my PS4 Pro, and I had less issues than several of my friends who played it on the PS5 and the base model PS4. So
I heard it was only playable on PC.
No, I never had any issues, not a single one. But I started playing right after the first update, so some things were already fixed.
I'm trying to think of a different game that I think was more egregious because it came with a massive fix that you had to download right from the very beginning.
Halo MCC was released as in a trash fire. There was nothing that worked right on that game. For multiplayer, you couldn't even play.
No, but I can't remember which game it was, but they literally released it with a day one patch. Because
most games do now.
Yeah, but I mean, it was completely unplayable without it. I can't remember which game. That's the problem. There was one game where it was getting panned for that too, that they had to have a. I can't remember what game.
Games that are unplayable without. Let's see here. Every single game that's not part of this whole series. Oh man, just about anything made by Bethesda.
Yeah, basically.
Evil Within. Battlefield 4.
It might have been actually. It might have been Battlefield 4, because Battlefield 4 was glitching like crazy.
Black Ops Cold War was left unplayable as game keeps crashing out. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was. I think it was one of the Battlefields actually. It was
4.
I think it was 4 was.
Let's see. When did it come out?
That's a great question. I want to say that was 2013, 2014.
So let's move my on release. Let's see on release. Battlefield 4 was playing network problems, made the game unplayable for some users. Developer admitted that the launch of Battlefield 4 had unacceptable problems. That's probably it.
Yeah, I think it was.
I feel like everybody forgets how terrible BF4 launched.
Yes. Right, there we go.
Okay,
no,
people
literally couldn't play online.
Or the campaign, apparently.
Yeah, people couldn't play because
this game was obviously a rush job. It hasn't been properly tested. How can EA ask $80 for something that's that fucking?
Yes, it was definitely Battlefield 4, because I remember now people were like complaining that they'd be running, but they would be making them move backwards. It was like inverted controls or something.
It's pretty insane to me that like you can get a game that promises so much, and upon its release, it doesn't have half the things they've promised.
So like what gets me is that people don't get sued for that.
Well, CD Projekt Red did, but not most companies don't.
No, but I'm just saying, like, how there's a fine line, right, between false advertisement and promised features. Like, I don't know.
Can I get some? So, can we talk about early access on Steam? I think that's a good place.
I think that's an amazing feature. I think. I mean, it's the most honest aspect of games being sold in our time, I think.
No, okay, let's back it up real quick. What is early access? Early access is known as early funding, alpha access, alpha founding, or paid alpha. It's essentially you're paying the devs when it's a playable game, but not quite there yet.
They're saying alpha, but it's really kind of beta too. It's
yeah, I would agree with that.
It's a very long road for an early access game to lose the early access title. You could basically have a fully functional game. I mean, more functional than Battlefield 4 was, and it's considered early access.
Now, the point of early access is not usually meant to be funding the game, but it has been used that way quite a bit.
It's used that way.
That's not technically how it's supposed to be used.
It's used like a Kickstarter, but for something that already got kickstarted. And they need that
or not even need to be kickstarted. Just games that are indie devs, usually not a AAA dev is using Steam Early Access.
It's been used also to reward Kickstarter backers.
Yeah, because you'll get access early.
Yeah, so it's been a very good way to make beta access and alpha access easy for those indie developers.
And when you buy into this, it's going to need updates. That.
It's super transparent. They give you the blue banner. If you pulled up Steam, you could easily find early access. And I mean, that's a way to find some gems for discounted prices too, because you can't charge. They don't let you charge full price, I don't believe.
And I didn't realize this game was this service had been around since March 20th, 2013. It's been around a long time.
Yeah, it didn't get. When did it get popular? I don't think it got popular until around. I don't remember, honestly. It got a lot of publicity late in. When was it? Wait, when did you say it was released?
2013.
No, that makes sense, actually. I remember it in college. I remember
Subnautica. I didn't realize that was one. Oh, here we go. Battlefield 2042. I think it means 2042. It's 2043 in here. Was early access, or well, it still is. Oh, is 2043 the new one?
I don't know. Is that the new high-tech one?
It might be, because 2042 is the one they did a while back. So maybe they're the continuation to 2043. I actually didn't know that.
I remember early access being a thing in like 2015, I think.
Yeah, I definitely remember.
I bought some games on early access in 2015, but it had like a whole new life given to it a couple years.
Star Citizen.
That's a bit rough.
Talk about development hell. That game's never coming out.
At what point does that get false advertisement?
I don't know. Okay, yeah, 2042. Okay. So I want to give a shout out to a company that really did a good job with the early access, and they just finally released on console. So it's available on the PS4, the PS5, the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X, and Steam as full release. It's called Pray for the Gods, not of the gods, for the gods. And it's actually a really well-made game. It's by a dev team of 3 people, and it's basically a full-blown spiritual successor to Shadow of the Colossus. It's a really cool game. I've gotten to play it on my Xbox One finally. But yeah, Mega Titans, Winter Survival. It's got multiple different tiers. The team that made it's called No Matter Studios. They did a fantastic job getting this game out there. It took them a very long time, but it is released now. And they actually got sued somewhere in the middle, or maybe not sued, but threatened. You know the game Prey?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they basically said, no, you can't have Prey in your name. Like, what? Clearly, there are going to be other games with the name Prey in it, so they just use the AE symbol in the middle instead.
It's like, it is what it is.
It's like, how stupid is that? You can't have the word Prey in the name of your game. Like,
I love it when they try to trademark something that's just a generic word that will get used.
But yeah, the full-blown release date was December 14th. I think I've had early access since 2019.
Do you know which game had the best Kickstarter though for getting
Star Citizen, because they were still making money?
No, screw that. That actually delivered.
Okay, which one?
That I'm actually happy with having purchased into. Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, and then also Shovel Knight, I think, was Kickstarter as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard good things about this
another one is Kingdom Come Deliverance is actually just solid. I think it's pretty good.
Shovel Knight, just for people that don't know Shovel Knight, I'll make sure everybody doesn't know what that is. That was a really good game. It's on like everything. I've got it on my PS Vita in physical form.
Another one. What is it? 1 second. Iron Harvest. That one is still, I think, beta. That
looks cool.
So that's Scythe, right?
Yeah.
Board game.
It's basically the video game version.
Yeah, it's based off of the story arc.
That's cool.
So it's a fun RTS.
For sure. It looks good. I'm trying to think. Let's just for the record, let's find the most notable Kickstarter game campaigns for fun. But going into Steam, going into like a Kickstarter, that you're probably gonna have Steam early access. You're gonna get updates, software.
They always promise it these days, at least. That's how they always will do alpha and beta access is through.
Let's see here. Most fun. Oh, there you go. Games most funded. Let's see. Oh, I want. What?
Oh, you got everything. You got everything. This is like board games and stuff. That's not.
I know. I want to change it to video games. Apparently, you can't do that. Is there a way to do it here?
Just change it to
video games. There it is.
There you go.
Oh yeah, Shenmue 3. How did we miss that one? That one went to Steam early access. I think it even went to, after early access, Epic bought the rights to it and launched on Epic Store instead, which made a lot of people angry.
Epic? I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say
There was Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is basically like a Castlevania game. I don't know what this is. I
don't know what that one is.
Torment. I never heard of that one. Numenera. Pillars of Eternity. That's right. That was another good one. Mighty Number 9. That was a famously, like, just nobody's happy about what happened with that game.
It got funded.
It was meant to be a spiritual successor to the Mega Man series, produced and made by the people that made Mega Man. But it turns out the guy that did it was more of an art guy, and so he wasn't exactly this. It wasn't
able to pull it off, is what you're saying.
Essentially, yeah. But he also did make some very good games. He made Recore on the Xbox One and PC. That's a good game. That's like a Metroid game, like a Metroid Prime game.
Oh, he made Recore? That actually looked cool. I obviously never played it since I didn't have the console.
Yeah, well, Recore's on the PC with Game Pass for essentially free. But it's a great game, honestly. It's like Metroid. It's a Metroid Prime, not Metroid, not the old Metroids, but the Metroid Prime series would be the closest thing I could come up with.
What's the next row?
You've got Double Fine Adventure, which is a pretty good, and I think Double Fine Studios, Double Fine Production, 2-player, Double Fine, whatever it is, they were still doing pretty good stuff going forward after that. You've got Ash. I don't know what that is. Ashes of Creation.
Looks interesting.
Ukulele was meant to be like the Banjo-Tooie spiritual successor. Oh, look, Xbox is getting Ayuden. I actually don't know anything about that, so if you know something about it, put it in the chat, Mr. Francisco Sosa, and I would love to hear what you have to say. I'll put it in here. It says Ayuden is announced in an Xbox conference for something like 2022 or 2024 or something like that. Okay. Moving on down there, we got Myst. They re-released Myst. That was cool. That's an old game. 25th anniversary re-release with 1100% funded. Good for you guys. I don't know BattleTech or Wasteland 2. I don't know if you do.
Elite and Dangerous, though. That one was pretty popular.
Elite and Dangerous. Oh yeah, Elite Dangerous. Yeah, okay. Homestuck Adventure, Hex MMO, Planetary Annihilation, RTS, Camelot Unchained. I've heard of that one. I don't know much about it. Friday Night Funkin'. Wonderful 101 Remastered.
There's Star Citizen.
Yeah,
it's still listed as a project we love. I mean, you have to love it as a project.
Okay, so I have heard Subverse is a strange game that you should not play in front of, like, spouses.
Oh, okay.
I have heard that, yeah. Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. If Will was on, he would have made fun of me and said that I've played it, even though I haven't. Subverse. Divinity Original Sin 2. We got Shroud of the Avatar. Don't know what that one even is. But Kingdom Come Deliverance. There you go. Shadowrun Returns. Crowfall. And there's also Indiegogo, which is like a separate thing. Biggest thing between Kickstarter and Indiegogo, for those who don't know, is that Kickstarter requires you to have a working prototype of whatever you're trying to do.
Star Citizen.
Working prototype. You can make somebody walk on screen. It's a prototype that works. Anyways, Indiegogo has no such requirement, but Kickstarter also won't let you have funding unless you make the full funds. Indiegogo will let you run with partial funding. So just keep in mind when you put into Indiegogo campaigns, most likely you're paying for it, even if it never comes out. Bard's Tale, that was cool. I forgot that Bard's Tale made to come back to the musical Bard and medieval. It's a cool thing. Chronicles Lyria, don't know that one. Firmament. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I recommend. Iron Harvest was one you mentioned.
Yep.
Don't know that one. Massive Chalice. I've heard good things about that one. I didn't realize this was actually brought together through. I've heard good things about it. Never played it. It's a really famous visual novel game. Supposed to be pretty good. I've never played it, but I've heard good things about it. Sea of Stars, Project Phoenix, Divinity Original Sin. Yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of great games that are coming out in early access because they're being released here. Friday the 13th, I've heard good things about that one too. It's like a asymmetric shooter game, essentially. Like one person's Freddy, everybody else is running away from him. So I heard good things about that one. I think Pete's played it before. He was in the chat earlier. Banner Saga. That is a great Fire Emblem style strategy RPG game, SRPG. So it's like turn-based on a grid, like chess, fighting each other. Great series of games. Launched an entire studio essentially based on this. Good stuff. Anyways, we've definitely spent a long time talking about it. Pray for the Gods. This one was on early access for a long time, used correctly to iron out bugs, and eventually released on consoles and PC. Iodine Chronicle Rising was announced in a Microsoft E3. It's a 2D game. I think it has people that made... Oh, Suikoden. Okay. So that would be a good game. I don't know if I'll play it, but that would be a good game. Okay, so early access, you know you're getting updates. Clearly, we know that.
And it's usually pretty transparent about where they're at in the game. Because Steam forces it. So,
okay, so backing out of this, other than your hacking, homebrew community, and updating system software for security reasons, what's another reason that consoles get updates? You're probably not gonna be able to come up with the answer, so let me know if you can.
No, I can't think of it, honestly.
It's for a very specific thing that only gets updated every once in a while. DRM. Digital rights management, the thing that everybody hates. Francisco knows this well. Digital rights management is essentially the way that they protect the rights of like Blu-rays, media, that kind of stuff. So as DRM technologies, encryptions get updated, you have to update the Blu-ray drivers and firmware in the consoles. And this is actually, I covered this in a video pretty extensively. Yes, Francisco's like, yes, LOL. Let's see, SU-42118-6. CHRILLCAST. If you type that in, you will find this video that got almost 5K views. An error has occurred. SU-42118-6 explained. Basically, DRM is like physically on chips for the Blu-ray players. Sony owns the rights to Blu-ray, so they kind of control this market. But if you use a cheap chip and you keep rewriting it, what do you think happens, Andrew? What do you think happens to a cheap chip that keeps getting flashed? Do you think it's going to?
I mean, it's going to. No, it's not going to work well. No.
So this is the crux of the issue with the PS4. The PS4 and 9.00 update, they flash that chip with new DRM tech whenever they need to. So if you consistently get these updates and you keep updating the firmware on that chip, then the Blu-ray drive stops working. And what do you think is one of the mandatory checks for a PS4 to get the newest update? That all of the hardware is physically working. And that includes the Blu-ray drive that is married to the motherboard. Hard married to the motherboard.
Yeah.
It has an actual like physical key on each Blu-ray drive and the chip.
Okay.
And if they don't match, they don't work.
Chris, you have to have a reason to buy a PS5. Okay. Just accept it. Forced obsolescence.
Yeah. Okay. Here's an interesting thing. It says
it'll work out.
The new Intel CPUs are not going to be compatible with 4K Blu-rays because some DRM protocols are missing in those CPUs. That's interesting. Yeah, Francisco and I had a lot of conversation in the background about the PS4 failure because he actually experienced, I think, the PS4 Slim failing on him, and we never did get to the bottom of what it is, but we're pretty sure it's because the DRM flashing on his Blu-ray chip failed. And that was the only thing we could come up with based on all the troubleshooting we did in the background. It was a really interesting conversation. We learned a lot going through it. We even did like checks on with the voltmeter across different pieces to see where continuity was. And we could not find anything other than that chip being the problem. And Sony refuses to use better chips. Throughout the entire production line of the PS4, they use the same crappy old DRM chips for the Blu-ray player. Every model of the PS4 has the same problem that could happen at any time.
I mean, it's a cost-benefit ratio.
So anybody who has a PS4 right now, just so you know, there are chips that need to be flashed every once in a while for updates from Sony, especially to get rid of the CMOS batteries. So that's another thing that people don't know about. The CMOS battery in the PS3, the PS4, and the PS5, upon launch of each of these systems, because they've resolved it on the 4 and the 5, was a required thing for the CPU clock in the PS4 to match with PSN, and that was their DRM check for PlayStation titles. So basically, a watch battery was the way that the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 5 synced with the system to make sure your trophies were legit, to make sure your discs and your downloaded software was legit, because that time clock had to match. If it was out of sync, then it was like, nope, your console's effed or whatever.
Yeah, this all goes back to why people don't want to be forced to be all digital.
Yeah. But you say that, but the PS3, you could still play your games offline, no problem, except for your digital ones. But on the PS4, it was so messed up. On the PS4, Renaissance, that was the chip name, FYI, MediaTek Renaissance. I'm sorry, some had MediaTek ones. I didn't know that. I knew Renaissance was the most common one used. So if you had a Renaissance chip in there for your Blu-ray drive, that chip has a high failure rate. It's very cheaply made. It's actually like pre-2010 technology. So like it was already old when the PS4 came out and they used it anyways.
I mean, remember, they had to find ways to lower cost.
I mean, I think it was probably more expensive to keep those production lines running at some point. But anyways, I digress.
It was established.
Where was I going with this earlier? We got off track here for a second. PS4 was the most messed up of all three systems.
Yeah.
So the PS4, if you lost that CMOS chip and you couldn't connect to the internet, you couldn't play digital or physical games at all. The system would lock you out. Completely lock you out. Like you could not play anything.
Yeah, I mean,
now they did patch it out, and I think part of the reason when they patched it out, I think part of the reason why so many PS4s failed upon that being patched out is they relied upon the Blu-ray drive almost in its entirety after that to validate your PS4 is not hacked or broken. I'm 90% sure that the reason all these PS4s failed was because they switched the way the DRM was being checked from the CMOS battery to a working Blu-ray drive. I don't have that. That's not a fact. That's just my guess because of the way things happen. Because prior to that, people were getting updates. And even if the Blu-ray drive was failed, then they would still get updates when the CMOS battery was in play. But then they removed the CMOS battery from play, and boom, you've lost your access to the network if your Blu-ray drive was failed. So clearly some kind of a hardware check is occurring after the CMOS battery was removed from the checks, and now everybody's screwed up.
Well,
hi, Spencer.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Did you know that there is a solution to all of this that everyone has been ignoring, right?
PC
Master Race.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I still for my biggest issue, and this is my issue. I don't know if everybody has this problem. When I get on my computer, I feel like I need to be working. When I get on a console, I know I'm not doing anything else but gaming.
See, I think
people that don't have my situation, though, where they're like working on a computer, they're podcasting on a computer, they're recording footage on a computer, then yeah, PC Master Race all the way, have at it. But for me, if I get on my computer, I'm trying to record something, do something like that, you know?
I mean, I think I have a similar perspective as you overall, because I definitely, I enjoy gaming on my PC still, don't get me wrong, but it's like, there's something about the work chair, the computer chair, just doesn't seem like the same escape. Plus you're like right up on the screen. There's something about having the TV and the comfort of your living room that does make console gaming just, I think,
way
a more
relaxing,
a more relaxing experience.
Here's something I also didn't know Francisco brings up. The update also made save files go encrypted too, so you can't modify files. So there's less problems for reading trophies, and that's something that was the worst by all this DRM and achievements. Interesting. I do know this. At one point in time, there was the Hyperkin save file editor. So at one point in time, if you bought the Hyperkin save file editor, you could plug the USB into your PS4. You could download your update or your save files to that, and then edit them, put it back in. So like for Persona 5, people were getting unlimited money. They were adding personas to their list. Stuff like that.
Everybody's done stuff like that for us.
Well, apparently, if they're encrypted now, though, that would completely break the Hyperkin save file editor. There's no way you'd be able to do that at that point.
It's like, I don't know. I've never been against allowing cheat codes.
See, I can, but here's what I
have fun doing it. It's just like you shouldn't be able to get achievements. That's basically.
So funny you say that. There's actually one piece of DLC that if you activate it, and that's the only one I know about for sure. But if you activate this DLC, it totally negates any trophies being able to be unlocked. And it's in Dead Rising 2, Off the Record. And it's a DLC called, I think it's God Mode.
Okay.
Game Breaker. It's literally called Game Breaker. You can get this like a $5 thing, but essentially it makes Frank West invincible.
Okay.
So you can play through the whole game with an invincible Frank West. It's meant for people that have already beaten the game multiple times and just want to play through the story in like the most hilarious fashion possible.
I mean, there's Crusader Kings, that series, and Europa, they've always allowed you to. They have a mode called Iron Man, which is when you're actually getting the achievements because you're not able to dictate when you save the game. So you can't undo something when you do. Like you have to play it one time through without just reverting to a later save once you screw up. But you can play without that and be in full control of your save file and not get any achievements. So it's like at some point, just
But I can see like what you're saying though. Like you definitely don't want to have a situation where somebody can cheat and earn what are considered to be credible achievements in game that other people would be comparing themselves to. Like for example, if you activate God mode in Call of Duty and you get a bunch of achievements in multiplayer, that's illegitimate. And you don't.
If there's multiplayer, then it's like different.
The competitive scene has destroyed cheating, in my opinion. Like you don't, if you're cheating in an actual competitive environment, like for achievements and trophies, etc., that's kind of messed up because these are achievements people actually consider to be something that proves your ability to play the game. It's something people compare themselves to. And
I mean, that gets into the whole esports thing.
Exactly. Well, I mean, but achievements aren't really esports. I disagree there. It's a little different.
Well, no, I'm saying like how they would rate somebody.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're, but that's different. Like, you know, an aimbot is different than, because you're not getting those achievements.
At least you shouldn't be, right?
You're not going to get those achievements because there are no cheat codes for multiplayer. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's still a different space. You have to separate the cheat codes. It's not really cheating. It's just playing God mode on whatever single player campaign you're doing, and then there's actual cheating, which is in a competitive fashion where you're using an aimbot, and people get caught for that shit all the time.
Let's see here. So in the Vita, it was something like it. For example, if you have a game that it's attached to another account, then it's not the one that is trying to play the game. It says you can't. You can play it, but no trophies. Oh, that's interesting. Like locks out specific game licenses from specific other accounts.
Interesting.
That's something that people like because they can brag. But yeah, exactly. It's bragging rights. Like if I get 7-Day Survivor in Dead Rising, which requires 14 straight hours of no life gameplay on Dead Rising 1, then it means that I spent 14 of my own real life hours playing that game straight to get that achievement. And that's an accomplishment in my book outside of the game that you can brag about. You know what I mean? But if you're able to just unlock that with no actual effort, then you're cheating the system. And I would understand why Sony or Microsoft would want to limit that because it totally destroys the point of achievements and trophies.
At one point, they were really, because remember, like Sony's whole trophy thing was geared towards single player.
It was.
So, yeah. So it was like that was a whole thing to like compare yourself with the community.
Yeah.
How complete did you beat your games? Because they had the different tiers for the trophies you could unlock.
Yeah. So you like basically what he's saying is like the bad thing here is that your save files are locked. There's no way to transfer them from one profile to another. There's no way to back them up and access them. So if your save file gets corrupted in game, then you're screwed because there's no way to fix it, right? And I can understand why that would be a problem. But with PS Plus cloud saving, it's kind of nice because cloud saving. Let's talk about that. What do you think about cloud saving?
What do you mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
I think cloud saving is one of the greatest things to ever come out because you have multiple copies of your save files in the cloud and you can access them on any system you log into. So like for example, my PS4 blows the dust today, then I can go buy another one and re-access all my save files.
Cloud saving is all of the good things that the going digital brings.
Yes, 100%.
It's when cloud saving's the good portion, and then if you want to take that and abuse it, that's when you start locking people out of games. The second they haven't been connected to the internet for so long. So it's like it's the double-edged sword.
Oh, 100% it is. Yeah, Andrew, you care if we bring Spencer on to have a little chat?
Sure.
All right, Spencer, I'm sending you the link right now. Feel free to join up as soon as I figure out how to send this code to you. Spencer is from SMT Network, good friend of the channel. If you haven't checked him out, you should. I will put a link up to his stuff here in just a minute. He does the Shin Megami Tensei Network podcast, and he also is now a Halo player, as well as I think he just started a Kingdom Hearts podcast too, so that's cool. You ever played Kingdom Hearts, Andrew?
No, I have not.
I actually have only dabbled in it once. So there's that. Let's see. I'm trying to find. There's Spencer. I'm sending you the link on Twitter, Spencer. So here you go. You get to meet our new co-host, Spencer, Andrew. Okay, he said, I'm down. Yes, so cloud save. Yes, I do agree with that, though. Cloud saves should be free. Only because people have already bought the PlayStation, and it's a feature.
I'm going to say
it doesn't take up that much space.
No, I'm going to say yes if you pay for the online subscription.
It is free with PS Plus if you pay for PS Plus. But I think it should be at least mostly free for people that just buy the console.
I don't agree, frankly. I'm going to say I don't agree.
Yeah. You can also... Good point. You can back up to the USB.
That's right there. That's what I was about to say. Is that
it just requires a little more.
You should always be able to do a physical backup. It should be free only if they do not allow physical backup.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But if you want it, you should pay for the online service as long as if that's what you want instead of physical backup.
I think you should get free service for at least a year after you buy it, because the first year is the warranty. So as long as your console's under warranty, they should keep backup saves of your console for a year.
I guess that's fair. It'd be warranty.
If it fails within the warranty, fails within the warranty, they should be able to restore everything you had.
I mean, to be fair though, they're not giving you a warranty on your gameplay.
But the hard drive is covered under the warranty.
That's fair.
If your hard drive is the failure, then they should be able to back that up for you somehow. So having the cloud saves would prevent them from having a problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a gray area. But then again, I feel like you should just get PlayStation Plus or whatever for the first year you buy it anyway.
You probably would.
I'm just at that point they would just give you online for the first year and hope that you just set it up with a.
Hey, if consoles are going to cost $500 upon release, I think you should get PS Plus for the first year free, anyways. That's my opinion. I mean, based on the parts that they're providing to you in the PS5, I don't think it's worth $500.
I would sell it to them as in just make sure that they have to put a credit card in.
So it's annual, really.
They have to cancel it if they don't want it anymore, and see your number of forgotten subscriptions go up.
Fair enough.
So you'd make money.
Welcome, Spencer.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
I can. I just can't see you. So just for the record, go find Spencer Presley. He's literally his name. Andrew, this is Spencer. This is his channel. Andrew's our new extra co-host. He's the third co-host of the CHRILLCAST.
You should have added. You should have added an extra L to represent the third co-host.
Well, we were trying to figure out how we could do it, and we were like, it could be the CHRILLCAST. We could use Krillin from Dragon Ball Z as our mascot going forward. Krillin.
I give you a week until you get a cease and desist from that, but I appreciate the optimism.
Anyways, I appreciate you starting a Kingdom Hearts podcast. I'm ready to learn about Kingdom Hearts. Because
well, you know,
I
have I thought it was funny when you asked Andrew. He's like, "Hey, you guys play?" He's like, "Of course you guys do. You guys are too busy laying down pipe every day. You're working men. You don't got time for Kingdom Hearts."
I've always thought about dabbling in it, but here's the question I have for you, Spencer. Now that Kingdom Hearts 3 exists, have there been I thought it was broken on launch, or there were issues on launch, and then they got updates and it was good. How do you feel about RPGs in general requiring updates? Because RPGs are usually ready to go when they release.
Well, the funny thing is with KH3, it wasn't that it was busted. It was just that people. Well, I guess there's a couple of different weird things actually. So if you played the disc without an update, there was no secret movie. The full game was there, but they didn't trust copies not leaking. So they had the 100% completion bonus secret movie in a day one update. Besides that, though, the game was actually pretty technically solid. I guess the only case you could maybe make is it had weird. If you wanted to play it at 60 FPS, you had to play it either on a series. No, there was no series. Xbox One X or a PS4 Pro at mandatory 1080p, because if you tried doing 4K, there was no options for it. But for the most part, it was a game that launched technically fine, but was one of those things that probably more fan divisive than technically divisive.
Okay, I do remember this now, because the controversy was there was a massive day one patch because they didn't have the ending on the disc. Yep, I remember this now. People were angry because there's people, for example, in Japan, people don't generally attach their consoles to the internet like the Americans do. And so it was a big controversy with the Japanese market because not everybody's ready to just download patches day one over there.
Well, and actually what's funny is, if you remember, or if not, you would be very much forgiven. The game actually did leak a month early.
I do remember that, yeah.
And there was a huge big thing about it of it leaked early, and a lot of stuff was out there for it. But I mean, for the most part, it was, as someone who was trying to avoid it, it was pretty easy. My whole thing about it, though, I think was kind of funny, though, bringing up cloud saves, because I typed this out before, but I love cloud saves. But I'm curious how you guys feel. But how do you feel that every console, because I think even Xbox, you have to pay for cloud saves.
I think Xbox gives you 5 gigabytes free or 2 gigabytes. I think Xbox is the only one that offers a free tier.
So my issue with it is in a couple of situations, and Chris, you can relate to this, of if you have a Vita,
yep,
the only way to move saves without hooking it up to a PC or a PS3 is to have cloud saves. There's correct, no way to move. If you wanted to transfer saves or whatever, there's no functionality for it outside of cloud saves, which is kind of
not
insane.
Easy functionality, anyways. Mm-hmm. The PS Vita media, what is it? Media manager on the PC is not very good. Let's just be honest, it's not very good.
Ironically, I've never touched it because doing it on a PS3 is actually hilariously easy.
It is,
but most people don't have a PS3 hooked up. Even though I say that, I'm actually on my PS3 right now, which is why I'm not on camera.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I just had a lot of problems with Vita, personally, in my opinion.
Oh,
most people did. You're in the majority. Don't worry.
Andrew's the only person I know that has a Vita and actually got rid of it.
I got rid of it because they stopped coming out with the games that I would want to play, and
I can't believe you didn't keep the system for Bird Dating Simulator 2. What's wrong with you, Andrew?
I traded it in towards my Switch.
And you never looked back. You're now playing Breath of the Pokemon 19.
Breath of the Pokemon 19.
It was a superior handheld. Let's just.
That's not even a hot take. It's yep, that's the side of history most people are on.
What is funny though, Andrew, is if you held on to your Vita, it'd be worth more now than it was when you traded it in.
That is true.
I don't care. I'm still. Every time this topic of the Vita comes up, I'm just always going to say how salty I am with the fact that they put that stupid touchpad on the back.
Makes the Vita so much nicer.
Andrew, clearly you're a man with too many morals. Like, if you're thinking about like the internet porn possibilities, that back touchpad was a lifesaver. Because if you're ever sitting there on your phone, you're like, dude, I could scroll through so much more porn if my fat finger wasn't in the way. And the back touchpad was the clear answer to that solution.
Oh my gosh!
Obviously, that was why it was designed that way.
I got to go backwards here. There's actual controls program for the internet browser with the back touchpad.
I think that you can customize.
Supported it. The YouTube, when it used to work, supported it. Also, what else did? Twitter still supports it. Facebook, when that was an app, used to support
Chris,
it as well.
You don't remember that the back touchpad was like terribly incorporated into everything, so you couldn't like avoid accidentally touching things?
Clearly, someone here has not played Tearaway, where you push your finger through the screen.
That's the only game I have ever used the back touchpad for, other than Uncharted.
There's a lot of fun ones.
Wait,
like,
did you not have Unit 13?
I've never had Unit 13. It was expensive when I went to go buy it, and I never bought it.
Unit 13 is the reason I developed a hatred for the PS Vita. And
it literally killed Zipper, so I mean I can't blame you.
No, what killed Zipper is the fact that they never released Mag 2. That's what killed Zipper. The only game that they could have saved themselves with. Instead they released Unit 13 and SOCOM Shit 4. And that was
so I want to on that note, I want to move to the next thing here. I don't have Killzone, Francisco. Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Killzone's a killer app and very cheap. If you ever find it, it's a great campaign.
Nah, fam, I got Black Ops Declassified.
I would have sold it to you, Chris. You should have asked me for my games.
I didn't know you when you traded it in, Andrew. You traded it in before we met.
No.
No?
I traded it in after.
How the heck did I not know this? My goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
You suck then. You should have traded
you were sitting on a friend gold mine there.
Yeah, I know. Andrew, we could have been so much better friends at this point.
I'm sorry. I traded it in at like a later date. Yeah.
It's all good. Never mind. It's all good. I think I tried to convince you not to turn it in then. I'm
you
kind
did.
of remember some of these conversations.
You did. You tried to convince me, and I was like, nah.
You're like,
you never asked me what games
pick up alcohol instead. That's a much better idea for you than trading your Vita games. Come on.
Okay, so here's my next question for you guys. So do you think that the advent of updates in software and games and whatnot has led to some games far outstaying their welcome and other games ending early with a new game coming out due to updates?
So many examples of this,
etc.
I'm going with every RPG. Every RPG right now. It's because everyone's I'm going to say every RPG because everyone's expecting something new added. And you're also under pressure to get games out earlier. So you're having a reduction in the quality of every game, right? Every single player game is reduced quality. You're having it where if it doesn't have the multiplayer, people lose interest in it. And it's just completely screwed up the cycle. Think, what is it? PS4 had Order 1886, was it, or something?
Oh yeah, the Order 1886, yep.
Which was an amazing game in my opinion for a story. I thought it had a lot of potential, but the problem is it was rushed. It lacked a multiplayer, and then it kind of dropped off the face of the earth. Where if it had multiplayer, maybe it would have had the staying power. But it's just one of those things where it's like that's where I think it's had its biggest impact. It changed the whole dynamic of what's successful.
I would kind of agree with that. I mean, in the same sense, like Final Fantasy 14 is the type of game that does that regardless. And like WoW is considered an RPG of some sort. And
I meant single player.
So you're talking about single player games. Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure
single player games in general. Like, I think
you could just be like Atlas and like 5 years later release an upgraded version of the game they released 5 years prior.
I still think
it's kind of funny like that you go to that. Like my thought was, because Chris, you said your first example was Destiny 2. Right?
Well, he was talking about RPGs, so I wanted to make sure we captured that.
No, so Destiny, it's funny because like I always think of like shooters suffering from it the most, whereas like I think there are some examples of it, but like I think a large amount of like how RPGs are made, like even if let's say Mass Effect Andromeda came out today.
Oh God, that game was a mess.
Well, yeah, but I'm even saying like I don't think it's just not like it's just not in that like core to like really
exactly what he said.
support games like that in a really weird sense of like, because I'm also thinking about like look at something like really successful that's single player that could have had DLC but just didn't get it. Like look at Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order is a great example.
Like imagine if that kept getting it, but they were like, well, and also another great example is God of War. God of War 2018 was going to get DLC, but they were just like, why don't we just put this into a big sequel? And that's what the new one's going to be.
Well, like Halo 3 ODST was originally going to be DLC for Halo 3, and then they decided at the last minute, nah, this is a game. So
not
Halo
a lot
3
of a game, but it's a game nonetheless.
It's one of the best short Halo games that exists. I think it's the only like short.
It doesn't have a lot of competition between that and Spartan Assault. Not a lot of competition.
Nobody likes Spartan Assault.
I would agree that shooters have been impacted poorly by it too, just because campaigns are meaningless.
Yeah, like Call of Duty pretty much eliminated the campaign based on online gaming and updates, and I am completely resentful with Activision for doing that.
Well, I'm resentful because they release a whole new game when they could just be
updating the multiplayer.
Yeah.
The Warzone, there you go.
Which is basically Warzone, yeah.
Yeah. But I would definitely have to take a step back and say, look, a lot of games release unfinished, and if they're unfinished in a state that's unenjoyable, the game's dead on release. Like there's no point to continue on. Whereas when you look back in the past, how many games did you get that you put in your GameCube, your Xbox, your PS2, your PlayStation 1, your Nintendo, your Super Nintendo, your N64? How many games did you put in that were Superman 64? How many games did you get that were broken upon the second you placed them in the console?
None.
Exactly.
Well, okay, here's my thing too, right? If it's a single player game, I should not have to download anything.
Well, Kingdom Hearts 3, I can understand why with the leaks they would want you to download something to finish.
Okay.
I can understand. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I can understand the logic.
To be fair with the Kingdom Hearts thing, to clarify with that, the ending is there. This is the 100% secret, but like this would be the equivalent of like the legendary ending in Halo being patched in day one. So it's not relative to the story in terms of completing it. It's just that icing like kind of thing. There's still the ending.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Assassin's Creed Unity should never have had that issue. Skyrim shouldn't have had the issues it had.
But then Tim Sweeney can sell you a PS4 with new Skyrim.
I'm just saying, yeah, I wish I was stupid enough to buy. They just shouldn't have had to. You think about that. You live in the middle of nowhere, right? You buy that game. It's broken.
There's no way to play. You can't play Skyrim with no DLC. No.
Right.
No.
So.
And then think about this with software updates. EA had the opportunity to fix the ending of Mass Effect 3, and they gave it their lowball shot to do it, their worst shot possible to fix Mass Effect.
See, it's funny you go to bring it by where we haven't like brought the elephant in the room in terms of perfect examples for this. Like, look at Anthem, the game that everyone thought would. The game that everyone thought would get fixed eventually, and just everyone gave
never
up.
Did.
Wasn't it bricking systems?
It was overheating OG Xboxes.
Really?
Didn't it hit Didn't it hit PlayStations too?
Some, but it was more caught to that. And Borderlands 3, I remember, did a similar thing at launch. It was just a lot of those. Hey man, we're playing on some really old hardware here. You better be lucky this thing runs at all.
Mm.
Look at this article. BioWare Magic is a sham, says former Anthem producer. I mean, to be honest with you, BioWare's magic pretty much ended for me after the Mass Effect trilogy.
Jade Empire. Oh yeah, that too.
No, Jade Empire was decent. Like that's a fine one.
I only like BioWare for Dragon Age.
It's funny that people are still talking about what BioWare needs to rebuild its reputation after Anthem.
Yeah, Dragon Age.
Yeah, aren't they working on one? Because there's the new Mass Effect coming out, which I am looking forward to.
The Dragon Age is a ways off because, like, remember that one's been started and restarted a bunch in terms of it'll be multiplayer, it'll be games as service. Okay, now it won't be any of those. Now all the directors have left. Like, they've got a lot of behind the scenes trouble with that. Chris, I wanted to ask you, and Andrew, I'm not sure how much you would have dig into this for it. I think in an interesting example of people aren't sure if it's going to end up being a good thing or bad thing. Obviously, the game's only been out for less than 2 months. I hope that we can look back on this with Halo Infinite and decide that, hey, instead of just trying to make Halo 6, 7, and 8, make this platform work out in the long run. And I don't know if they're going to get that way yet, especially with how slow, I think, especially a lot slower they thought, or I guess a lot slower fans thought that they were going to be in the long run, of like how long Big Team Battles had its issues, how long this first season's going to be. Like, man, even though we're into the new year, I still cannot believe that we're 4.5 months away from Forge and co-op.
So here's the thing. 343 promised when Halo 5 came out to, no applause because there was no co-op. They promised that Infinite would launch
no local co-op though, right? Or did Halo 5 not launch with co-op?
It had co-op online. Yeah, you're right. They promised local co-op would be in the game on launch with Infinite. And here we are, no local co-op, no Forge, and we're having issues. It feels like the game needed like a whole nother year before they would have launched it. And basically Halo Infinite right now is equivalent to not early access, but beta, I would say, because it's not done. And I know it's supposed to be games as a service. The multiplayer is supposed to be games as a service, but the campaign has no excuse. They launched multiplayer and said,
Chris,
okay,
is this the reason the campaign is $30 at Costco right now?
Yeah, it's not done. And they said that they're going to add stuff to it. I think this was a test to see if there's enough people invested in the campaign to keep it going.
Have you beaten it yet, Infinite?
I have not, and I'll tell you why.
Are you at least still enjoying it, or have you just decided to hold on and wait?
That's where I'm at. There are parts of the campaign I enjoy, but there's a lot that I don't. Does that make sense?
I mean, also you are still going through your
play
first time
Halo,
on Legendary, right?
Right. I don't play Halo to do a whole boatload of side quests, but I feel like you have to get the full Infinite experience. So I'm spending time walking around the map, doing every last little thing you can do, and it's really taking away from the main campaign for me. And that's exactly what I was hoping they would avoid doing. And I've got exactly. Francisco says it right. I feel tired when I play Infinite.
Dang.
And that's not how I should feel playing a Halo game.
I
have always felt like an adrenaline rush. Like even with Halo 5, as much of a mess as that game was, I still felt like I was playing a game that I was enjoying, and the tiredness would come from unsuccessfully failing at a level or failing at a part. And I would get like a little bit of an adrenaline rush when I get closer and closer and closer to executing, perfection and winning. But here is where I'm at with Infinite. I have no challenge in Legendary. Like I am breezing through the hardest enemies, except for the one that really drove me nuts. And that was the first boss. They do not set you up for success at all. And it's very cheap. That boss is the cheapest part of all of Halo Infinite so far, bar none. And it's just not set up well for Legendary at all. But after that one boss, once you get into the main ring and you're playing through it, there's no challenge. I have no challenge. I can breeze through every enemy. And I don't like the exploration.
I'm wondering for you, are you in this side of like, how much of this do you think would be alleviated? You wake up tomorrow, online co-op's there. Do you think it would be?
I would enjoy it. I would definitely enjoy it more with online co-op at the very least. Will and I would have a good time playing it. For a solo player, I don't feel like the game does enough to prod me along to enjoy it. I just feel, like I said, tired when I play Halo Infinite. And that's not how I was hoping it would feel. I was hoping it would, like, the sense of adventure and like the aesthetic, because it's returning to a more pleasant Halo aesthetic, in my opinion. Oh, we have another porn bot in the chat. Good stuff. Block that one. I was hoping that the aesthetic and the atmosphere and the gameplay would resonate with me. And I think the gameplay loop is good. I like the gameplay loop. I hate the exploration of Infinite. Just the same way that I hated Breath of the Wild. That game is my least favorite Zelda, bar none. I think that game is too open, too much stuff to do, and I feel like I'm missing out, and I get tired when I play that game.
My problem with Breath of the Wild is that I feel like it's poorly directional.
There's no direction.
There is no direction at all.
That's how I feel about Infinite. There's nothing that tells me to get to the next stage. I'm playing through it, and I'm like progressing and beating these side quests, but there's nothing pulling me back to the main quest. And I think that's the main problem. There's so many distractions.
Am I the only one here who's messed around with the new Pokemon? Now that you brought up Breath of the Wild, though.
Oh, I won't even touch that one. It's too much like Breath of the Wild with Pokemon, and I don't want that.
So what's funny
Pokemon?
is that it's actually not the new one that just came out yesterday, Legends.
Oh, I haven't.
It looks like Breath of the Wild, which is why I haven't touched it.
But Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I'm still early in it, but what's funny is it's very focused, even though it is an open world, because it's not actually an open world. You're going to different hubs, and your missions are never really that drastic. So I wonder how you would feel about that. Obviously, you kind of have to have an innate interest in like monster collecting, but it is interesting of like you're doing the same handful of tasks, and they're like successful enough, but it's not that kind of thing of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. And you know what? Actually, it has a really nice feature I've not heard anyone talk about. When you're starting a quest, you can choose whether to be guided to waypoints or not with each individual quest, which is actually a nice feature to turn on and off.
Here's a question. Would you consider it similar to Dragon Age, where like you're
no, it just
no for the style of, I'm saying for the style of guiding, where like you're in an area, there's a ton of stuff you can do there.
Just because I would actually say Dragon Age is actually more deliberate about where to go, where actually Pokemon, it still does that thing where it wants you to get lost in the world, even though it's not a huge open world.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, Infinite does a lot of things really well. I just can't, like, the campaign to me is too jarring with all of the side quests that don't feel like they fit in with the world. I know there's a lot of lore there. I know there's a lot of things going on. It's Zeta Halo. There's a lot of things you can do. But I do feel like nothing guides me to the main quest. I could just literally sit there and explore. There's no feeling of urgency. There's nothing agency-wise that brings me to the main story in a way that all of the previous games did.
I think that's a problem with a lot of games these days, though, where they overload you with these side quests that it's like you don't know if you're going to be able to just go right back here, so you feel obligated to do
exactly. That's my problem.
And at the same time, you're doing this big mission, which is supposed to be urgent, yet they're doing everything in their power to make you feel like you can't do your urgent task.
There have been some open world games that I've enjoyed immensely. Like, for example, I'm like one of the few people that thinks Infamous Second Son is one of the best games on the PS4. It's just hands down one of my favorite games I've played on the PS4.
It's pretty good. I'll give you that. I think it's very good.
And it had a lot of distracting side quests, but the value for that was high because you got something out of everything you did in that game.
I think Assassin's Creed with Ezio and everything was pretty good in general for how their side quests were. Like, you had reasons to explore different areas, but you were always kind of like pushed in your direction.
And this is definitely the big difference between Will and I in gaming. Will enjoys games where he can go off and, I'm going to say, mess around in and forget what mission even is for hours at a time. He does feel they need scarabs, dedicated vehicle sections like Metropolis and Halo 2, and more cinematic moments. That's where Will and I really differ in gameplay. I need to be able to focus and play the game through because my gaming is limited. Will kind of has a lot more time to just kind of play games than I do. I've got 3 children and 1 more on the way, and I don't have time to be sitting here wondering if a side quest is going to be worthwhile for me or not. I don't have time for that.
I mean, and when you were mentioning Breath of the Wild too, and I agree with you on that one. Like, I feel like it's just poorly directed at all, though. Like, just finding out where you should go to pursue the main story.
You could play that game for 100 hours and never finish it.
Yeah. No, I mean, you could just go wherever, but
exactly.
the main story is kind of weird. Yeah.
If you don't finish Breath of the Wild, it's basically Minecraft. Do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but it felt different.
Spencer, have you opened Halo Infinite yet? Have you played through it?
I have, well, because right now in my campaign-a-thon, since I got all the games, I'm almost done with 3.
How do you like Halo 3?
I gotta say, it's really hilarious going into like Halo 1. I was like, wow, this holds up way better than I would have thought, even though it's janky.
It does.
Number 2, I'm like, I see why everyone likes this. This is a much better campaign. And then 3, I'm like, wow.
Except the ending. I don't like Halo 2's ending.
Like I clearly was not in that moment because like I'm not, especially because like I know it's not the end, but I'm like, bro, no part, like I'm almost done with this campaign. I'm like, no part of this feels like I'm ending a trilogy yet. It's like it's very interesting. Of like, unless the last like maybe 4 minutes or so, I'm like, dude, I don't feel like I'm finishing a fight. I feel like I'm just kind of going through some levels. But like, I'm enjoying the campaign structure.
Did you finish the last level yet?
Story. No, I have like I think 4 missions left in Halo 3.
Okay, it really wraps up well after the middle of the game.
To be fair, I think the last mission I did was literally like one Cortana ship crashes, and you're just going through that same level you just did backwards, which is not a good note to end on.
No, and just when you get to the last level, it all wraps up nicely. You'll see.
But like playing it, I'm enjoying playing Halo 3 a lot. Playing it is very fun. I've dicked around a lot with Firefight and ODST and stuff. So I'm excited. I just didn't want to burn myself out, and I've been giving myself other stupid things to either work on for review or just like check out. I'm curious though for you guys, how do you feel about if either one of you guys play From games of like where Dark Souls games are open? They're not like open world, but they also don't hold your hand and really telling you kind of what to do. So like, how do you feel about those in terms of
it's different though, right? It's different. It's kind of directed.
It's kind of an engaging series. I've not played a lot of the Souls games, I'll be honest with you. My brother played a lot of them, but from watching him play it when I was younger, it seemed like there was a direction that you knew you needed to go, and the game was really good at kind of guiding without guiding where you should be going.
There's a path. That's the thing I would say about those games.
I never felt like my brother was lost when I was watching him play. Does that make sense?
That'll be extra. Oh no, definitely. Because it'll definitely be interesting then to see. I'm so curious to see how the heck they do an actual open world with Elden Ring. I'm really wondering like if it's just gonna feel like Dark Souls 1.5 or if it's really gonna feel like something like a Breath of the Wild moment.
See, and I do think that Halo Infinite does Breath of the Wild better than Breath of the Wild does in regards to transforming a non-open world game into an open world game. But that's about as far as my compliments of Halo open world go.
I mean, for a first attempt, though, like I'm very early in it. Like, I like the things I've seen them do. Whereas, like, I think I'm going to treat Halo Infinite the way I'm playing like Far Cry 6 right now. Or like, it's not reinventing the wheel, but it's
reinventing the will.
It's making me. Yeah. Whereas, like, it's making it like I'm appreciating the tiny things it's doing a lot more than I might like, because I think like at least like for me, like looking at something like the reviews for Far Cry 6, I did not understand the hate for that game. Like I thought that is like the best that formula has ever been in a very, very long time. But I think there's a lot of people were jumping into it being like, I've played it before, so it's boring.
I think the problem with the new Far Cry was you had a lot of returning fans for the series that were expecting something far different than what it was, like you were saying.
Well, no, that's the weird thing. Everyone I know who's played it loves it. Everyone who reviewed it, well, not everyone, a majority of reviewers really, really fell flat with it. Like, everyone I know who's played
Does anybody
it, like,
trust reviewers anymore? Like,
No.
I mean, let's be honest. Do you trust IGN to review a game or GameSpot or any of these companies? I trust people like Spencer, LaRue, or I trust people that I know or people that I've been watching for a long time, independent of the gaming companies that review these games. I definitely don't go.
Do you all have someone on the opposite end of things? Do you guys have someone you're friends with who you just hate their opinions? Not like hate them, but like, man, you've got some dog shit taste.
There's a
like,
guy named Will.
I'm just
I'm just kidding.
Like, I have some friends that are just like, man, I don't know how you have said that opinion with a straight face. Like, there are just some things for like I jumped into a Discord chat like a week ago or something, and it was just a room full of people trying to rag on how SMT5 is like the worst game Atlas has ever made. It was so bad.
I disagree
it was
with
so
that
boring.
hardcore.
And it was one of those funny things of like, are we
playing the same game?
Worst. And yeah, because it's like it's like when you like a great thing that happened was, here's a good one of a friend that I respect a lot, but I laughed very hard at their review. Is Marsh, when he did his review of SMT5, he had pretty much a lot of good to say along with some of their criticisms. Was like, I like this game a lot. I'm going to give it a 6, which I laughed at, not because I thought it was wrong. I'm like, that tells me how few other games this guy plays. Because like, for me, I'm playing as many things as I can possible. Like, if that's a 6 to you, that means that you've not played any like 5s or 6s in the last like year or whatever. Like, you're not like going through like the grunge and stuff and like, oh man, like here's some like rough games. Because it's like, at worst I could see you maybe like 7, 8s. But like,
what did SMT5 review
like, okay,
with? What did they review it at?
Sorry, say again? Oh yeah, which one did they review it?
No. What did they review it at on like Metacritic? I'm curious.
Oh, it's high.
Isn't it
80s.
pretty
it's
solid?
Like the second highest. Yeah, it's
84.
like the second highest rated
84.
like SMT game. Yeah.
See, I would say that SMT5 was as big of a franchise change as, say, like Persona 3 was for the Persona series. I would say that the amount of changes
100%.
made, and I actually think that this change launched better than Persona 3 did. I mean, look how quick FES had to come out to fix a lot of things with Persona 3. SMT5 came out totally playable, totally finishable, no real issues. And in my opinion, of the games that tried to do the Breath of the Wild moment, this game succeeded the best. I think this one did the Breath of the Wild moment better than every other game we've talked about tonight.
So, you want to know?
Other than the platforming being, subpar.
Now, there's one game now that I will use as my basis to judge everyone else's opinion.
Okay.
And that is The Last of Us 2. If you have a positive opinion of The Last of Us 2, I don't trust your opinion of any other game.
I love Last of Us 2. I love Last of Us 2.
How can you love The Last of Us 2? It's the worst game.
You know what's funny? I was just telling a friend,
bad.
like,
it's so bad.
So, Andrew, I want to ask you this, because I had a friend who was like, I didn't play Last of Us 2 because I think that there was no reason to tell that story, or like it might have just felt like a cash grab sequel. And I'll say, even if you hate The Last of Us 2, I think you have to kind of respect the story it tells, though, because it's like, that's the least safe sequel I've ever seen.
I think it's important for people to separate the prettiness factor, the game mechanic factor, from the actual story.
I cannot play Last of Us because of the game mechanics.
So the thing though is the story.
I don't like it.
The story for The Last of Us 2 is so poorly told. It's like it's almost insulting. I take it. The story is almost insulting, in my in my opinion, because it's
the
just
fact
like
that I will say this, I watched the whole story synopsis, and I felt like
oh no,
there was vengeance that was to be had, and it never happened.
so well. It feels
That's
how I
pointless.
felt about it.
The whole story does feel pointless at the end. By the end,
I respect the team that made it for not changing the story based on the backlash, though.
So Spencer, my question is: do you feel like the villains are actually well done? Like all of these factions you're fighting. Towards the end, they just randomly reintroduce another faction. Like they just randomly introduce a new faction. There's no good like this is what this faction stands for. This is how they're fighting. Like there's nothing. It's shallow. Everything about the game is very shallow to just have this Ellie and I forget the other chick's name.
Have you played it, Andrew?
Abby.
Yes, Abby. Yes, Abby. I've played it, and
all the way through, or did you give up?
With my wife, we played it. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, and it's just kind of bad. I don't know. It's like they could have at least made the way they start it, the way they follow through. I don't know. It just felt like a very shallow story, and.
So my answer to that, and like to give no spoilers, but to give context, hopefully, I look at the whole section, the ending with the rattlesnakes and everything. I look at that like I look at the John Marston section at the end of Red Dead 2. I look at that like that could have just been DLC. That could have just been an epilogue that they sold, and the fact that it was added on, I ate it up like it was the best dessert ever. Like I was not expecting that. Like if the game had just rolled credits where it rolled credits, I would have been very fine with that. I liked why they reintroduced. I liked that they talked through the baggage. I liked that like we learned enough about who that antagonistic force was, but like their job wasn't to like be explained like the Fireflies or the Wolves or whatever. Their job was just to kind of be like, hey, this isn't Star Wars. There's more than the Empire and the Jedi. Like there's a lot of people out there who are either going to be good, bad, in between, or whatever. And this was just a really, really bad example of like showing people like, hey, this is like some of the worst and stuff like that. But like, so like you said, like, with the villains of like, I think in terms of like the villains who actually mattered in terms of explaining Abby and explaining Ellie's story, I liked it a lot. Obviously, there are situations where like I would have liked to know more about the people Abby worked with, but the story that I still got, I loved it. I thought it was such an interesting premise of basically like that's like to me, Last of Us 2 feels like it is like 2.5 games in one. You could have just had one character's story be the game, and I still would have liked it, and it just kept giving you more and more and more and more.
Oh yeah, because there a whole section where you play
totally
as the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just feel like
like the game basically does the whole thing of like you're in Seattle, of like 1, 2, and 3, and then you go and do it from that person's perspective. But the best part is it's not like it's reusing assets. It's literally totally new areas, totally new characters, totally new, basically everything.
Can we just talk about the fact that Abby's bodybuilding is totally unrealistic for a zombie apocalypse? Like, let's be honest.
I'm very much in the camp of I love Abby as a character. I think
I'm not saying that you can't like it. I'm saying let's be honest though. Like, how are you getting the protein required?
They got a gym. They're literally they live in a sports gym. Like that's where they
Who's
live.
producing the protein, Spencer? Who's producing all the protein she needs?
Go get.
She's getting a lot of testosterone.
I'm just kidding. I do remember there being comments like, "How does this person even exist in a zombie apocalypse?"
Also,
Fair.
Just to call back to one thing we were talking about too, they did actually announce a new Dragon Age, but there's no release date. So
good.
There will be a new Dragon Age.
So here's my commentary.
It's something that got lost during the pandemic. Let's just go with that because they released the trailer during 2020.
I missed that.
Yep.
Spencer, here's my commentary on Last of Us. Okay, so actually, same commentary for Horizon Zero Dawn. The original Last of Us, I bought on release day, pre-ordered it and everything, got through the opening part of the game, and thought, man, this is the most beautiful game I have ever played in my life on the PS3. And then literally they handed me the controls to play it. I got to the first part with the clickers and I had to put it down. I could not play it anymore after
adapt to that.
I just hated the controls.
Here's a weird one for me I'm thinking of. How do you feel about the Uncharted games? Because I just got the PS5 collection of 4 and the Lost Legacy. And I'm replaying, and I'm replaying 4 for the first time, literally since launch. And I'm like, wow, I'm surprised how well this holds up. Also, fun fact that Sony has not advertised this at all. That PS5 version, they've said that Iron Galaxy made the PC version. And I thought, oh, clearly Iron Galaxy did the PS5 version. Nope, that's a Naughty Dog game.
Naughty Dog did that?
That's what they've been working on. They did that port internally. I watched through the entire additional credits, and it's just Sony, and it's just Naughty Dog, which is really
impressive.
And like when you mess around with it, it really shows because they added so many nice new details. The way they implement the controller is really, really nice, which is not always the case with PS5. And they added actually new, better looking art assets. Like it's not just here; it's in 4K. It's like they made new assets for the higher resolution.
I believe that. So there are 2 games that exist on PlayStation that I think are fantastic stories, but I just can't get into the gameplay loop. And it's Last of Us 1 and Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn, it was like the one game when I bought my PS4, I was like, I'm playing this game. It looks amazing.
How far did you make it into Horizon? I'm curious.
I made it far enough to recognize that the controls weren't for me. I made it into... was it Aloy? Aloy's the name. I made it past like the opening, like good. I made it like 5, 6, maybe 8 hours in total. And I recognized that I was never going to get the whole, not to the point where I would feel good about playing the game, get the controls down. For some reason, games like that one and Last of Us just don't feel natural to me. But I'm also,
that's
Xbox
really interesting.
For
I know Horizon's a weird one of like, I got it at launch, but I didn't beat it until like 2019. I was very late to beating Horizon. It might have even been like 2020. There was a lot of PS4 exclusives I was very late on, like that and God of War. I felt like the last Sony fan to like beat those back to back. But Horizon's an interesting one of like, I think Horizon is probably the strongest new IP that started.
Oh, I agree PS4. With that.
See, I didn't even
just in the sense of like the world building is really, really good. And like, do you two know you guys know who wrote Horizon 1 and is writing Horizon 2, right?
No, I don't know who wrote it.
Mm-mm.
It is the same person who wrote Fallout New Vegas.
Oh,
okay. That makes sense.
So
another series of games I've never gotten into, Fallout.
Yeah, I never got into Fallout actually. I just prefer Elder Scrolls to Fallout. I think that's my problem.
See, I'm the exact opposite. Boring ass like bread and butter fantasy makes me go to sleep so hard. Whereas like I have so many Bethesda games and I've never once thought I need Elder Scrolls. And like I've tried them. I've looked at Patrick Stewart in Oblivion. I'm like, I like you, Patrick Stewart, but I don't want to play this game. And it's like one of those funny things about like, but Fallout, I love. Dishonored, I love. Deathloop, I love.
Andrew,
Prey, I love.
Is that all right if we bring out your technical background in what you got your degree in?
Why? Fine.
To talk about Fallout.
Oh well, that's okay. Yeah, sure, you can.
Andrew has actually got a degree in nuclear engineering.
Yeah.
So
doesn't make me want to play Fallout anymore.
I can understand that for sure.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say is you don't have to. You do not have to feel like you're the last person to beat Horizon Zero Dawn because I still haven't beaten it, and that's just because I'm like a completionist type of person who had to step away from that game because I just was running around the open world and not doing the story.
I actually think the Horizon Zero Dawn.
It's a weird one of like I
think the franchise story is
like,
great.
I get it.
I love the story after reading it. but I can't get into the gameplay. I just can't.
See, I had too much fun with the gameplay, just running around.
I don't like the robot mechanics very much.
That's fair.
That's just me.
Sounds like 2/3 of this show sure hates women. First, Last of Us, and then Horizon Zero Dawn.
I love Tomb Raider. Woof. Thank you very much.
What are you talking about? I like the first Last of Us.
Dude, the rebirth of Tomb Raider is one of my favorite series of modern consoles.
Hey, I said I like Horizon Zero Dawn.
That's
I just was playing everywhere but the story.
Hey, let me sell you on a new game
and
here,
then,
Spencer.
I liked the first Last of Us. I don't like the second.
We talked about this earlier, Spencer. Try this. It's basically the Shadow of the Colossus spiritual reboot. It was made by 3 people in California.
What's it called again?
Pray for the Gods.
Why does it only have a 46?
Oh yeah. I know about Pray for the Gods. That's a good one.
I like that one. I know it's
not getting rated well.
But look at this. 4 out of 10 for IGN. 93% liked this video game. That's one of those situations where.
Well, how many people have actually clicked the like? Please give me that metric.
5 stars. Done.
You haven't even. Have you
played it? Yes, I have it on multiple consoles. I have it on my PC. I got it on my Xbox. And I probably have it on the PS4 out the
Now go see if you moved the percentage up.
Nope.
Yep.
I wonder how you guys would feel about Days Gone and
Days Gone. Is it a zombie game or not?
I think so.
Days Gone is you're in Oregon with zombies on your bike. Chris, I know we've talked about this before. I still don't understand how you've not, as a huge, like, seriously, if you're like, oh my gosh, Infamous Second Son is the best open world game on PS4, and then just Ghost of Tsushima is just sitting there taunting you with a much better open world. It's so, like, do we need it? I'll buy it for you. It's right there. It's ready for you.
I will play that when I have time. I am working on my Persona 4 Golden Platinum, and that is the only game I am playing until besides Halo Infinite right now.
Hey, Chris.
I appreciate the commitment.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Is around you still got PS5s? Because I don't have any near me.
Oh, yeah, you asked me to go look. I haven't looked yet. I got to go look. I'll probably be at Meyer next week. I can look then.
Okay. Yeah.
You want one seriously, though?
I'm just trying to figure out where I would have to go to buy one because.
Hey, I agree with this answer here. IGN gave it a 4, but other gaming outlets gave it 7. So IGN is questionable.
Well, IGN's been questionable for a long time. So
yes, that's a fair point. All right, and it's only a $30 game, so it's worth it in my opinion. Just if you like Shadow of the Colossus, and you like some meta being added to the game, like there is like the easy mode which doesn't add any of the meta. It's just straight up Shadow of the Colossus essentially. But there is like meta where you can get like survival things with food and freezing. But it is basically Shadow of the Colossus spiritual reboot with some added features. It's a really good game made by 3 incredible devs. I'm just impressed it came out. Like, this is a game that's been in the works for like 5-6 years. So anyways, I always try to give them a shout out whenever they come up in conversation. I want to ask you guys this. Other than Skyrim, what is the most broken game that has come out for you guys and you've played it and it either A, it ended up getting fixed, or B, it never got fixed? I'd like to hear your answer.
I have a really quick answer right away because we just brought it up. Fallout New Vegas on PS3 literally broke for the most hilarious reason. So if you finished a quest specifically on the PS3 version and you picked up a hat, it ruined your game because it just totally messed up the game's code. Yeah, if you look this up, it's like Fallout New Vegas cowboy hat. So no, Fallout New Vegas cowboy hat. It would literally make it so every time you tried to progress into the world, the game would crash anytime you loaded into a new area. So you just could, like, you either had to restart your whole save, or what I ended up doing is I waited, I think, like almost 3 months for Bethesda to patch it. Well, I guess technically it was Obsidian, but it was one of those things of like, God, Obsidian, I love your games, but Jesus, that was so buggy.
11 years ago. Did the last patch update fix the old cowboy hat glitch? I'm paranoid about going to this strip because my hat is in dire need of repair.
It did get fixed finally. But what was funny was it was so bad it actually delayed DLC from coming out for like months.
That's pretty bad. That's like Cyberpunk 2077 bad.
And it was just the weirdest thing for a freaking hat, for just doing a random side quest and getting this hat. That's all it took to ruin your game.
That is amazing. I can't believe that even
awful.
happened. So the biggest glitch I ever experienced was actually, I think Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. It was the creepiest glitch I've ever happened. I'm sure it was just me. I don't think everybody had this problem, but let's see. Spyro, was it Enter the Dragonfly on GameCube? I wish I had a screen recorder at the time because I totally would have posted this online at this point. Yep, Spyro Enter the Dragonfly.
That's what your VHS was for.
Yeah, exactly. I got to a certain point in this game, all right, and I could not pass it. You get to a part, and I could even reload the game again and play it, and I get the same part, same problem. It was like this level where there's like a farmer, and you're collecting the dragonflies, and you're progressing, and all of a sudden there's like this bridge over top, and you're going under the bridge, and all of a sudden the whole game freezes, and the farmer guy's just like laughing at you as you just sit there, pause, and like the dragonfly that's with you, like frozen on screen with like this horrible face on. And I got creeped out because this happened to me at like midnight as like a teenager or middle school, whatever year it was. And my goodness, I had nightmares about Spyro. I had to take the game back to GameStop, trade it in for something else because that was the weirdest thing that has ever happened to me in gaming. That laugh still echoes
Spyro
in my
nightmares
sometimes. So I have not bought the new Spyro Remastered trilogy either, by the way. Not because of that, I just haven't. But I just had such a bad experience.
It's not safe.
Spyro.
It's clearly not safe. That's why.
Obviously, that was never fixed for me. Clearly, but a game that was eventually fixed for me is I think at this point it's fair to say that Cyberpunk 2077 is a playable game.
That's a hot take.
I have no idea if this was a glitch or I was just screwing it up, but the worst game I ever played was a Game Boy game for Harry Potter, and I think it was the Chamber of Secrets.
I have that one.
I couldn't get out of Gringotts.
Now, hold on. Specifically, Game Boy, that was a RPG.
Yes.
Game Boy Advance was a top-down game. Are you talking GB or GBA?
He's talking about
Game Boy Advance, I believe.
Oh, are you sure?
Okay,
or
yeah.
Maybe it was color.
Because the Game Boy one was specifically better than the GBA one. I remember.
Let me think. Which one? Look at both of them.
This is the Game Boy Color one.
Okay.
It was like a straight up RPG, like Final Fantasy RPG almost.
Okay, and what was the other one like?
Let's see, Game Boy. Because I have both of the Game Boy Color ones still, and I have to say they're some of the best RPGs on the Game Boy ever made.
That one. It was that one.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I don't understand what it was, but no matter what I did, looked it up online, my copy I could not get out of Gringotts.
Hey, can somebody confirm this? The first copies of the Spyro remaster had the last two games unfinished, and the complete version was a year later. You mean on the disc, or like legit wasn't finished? I need an answer, Francisco, because I don't recall that being a problem, but definitely. So just for your own sake, Andrew, you should play the Game Boy Color version of the Harry Potter games because those are fantastic games.
I was trying to buy them.
They're super cheap. They're super cheap.
The Harry Potter games were really good back then.
They were actually they had like
the very first one was really good.
PlayStation 2, GameCube. Shrek 2. I think Shrek 2 is one of the best platforming games on the GameCube, personally. You ever played Shrek 2 on the GameCube? Good game.
No, not that one. No. But Nintendo was making pretty solid Harry Potter games. I forget which one, but like I think it was the first one. Didn't GameCube have one as well? That was really good.
They had the Quidditch game, I think.
But they had like an RP, like the actual, like you just go around Hogwarts and stuff, and it was pretty good.
Okay, so yeah, he's saying that the disc needed the update.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Thank you for. I was away filling up water, and I want you to know because I was muted and I couldn't unmute myself while I was getting water. I was just silently screaming, like, I know the answer to this question.
Is it the spiral one?
Yeah, the spiral one. Chris, you'll get a kick out of this. This is like devilishly evil too. So the game released on PS4, Xbox, and the Switch one's the same way. The only thing that's on the disc is Spyro 1.
Okay, that's what I thought.
The only thing is to update to get it, but they patched it so that it was actually, because the only reason it wasn't like it wasn't done, it was over 50 gigs for all 3 games. So it was too
and they
big.
didn't have a big enough disc essentially for it? Okay.
Exactly. So this is what happened. When they eventually patched it and got it under 50 gigs, they did a tiny print run. And the only way you can tell is if the box says, and this is only on PlayStation 4, I don't think the Xbox One ever got this reprint. There was a tiny reprint with all 3 games on the disc. But that was way tinier and never got advertised. So the only way you can know is if you're looking at the box and there's no asterisk and at the bottom it says download required. It's like, it's not even rare, it's just not known. So it's one of those weird things of like, I want to pick up Spyro, but I will only do it if it's that version with it all on the disc.
Of course, if you have an option to have the entire game on the disc and a version that doesn't, always get the one with the entire game on the disc. 100%. No questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, how funny is it that Shovel Knight launched with physical versions on the Vita, the PS4, the Wii U, the Nintendo Switch, 3DS, and then the final version with all of the DLC on it was when they finally released the Xbox One version and the PS4 didn't get one.
So yeah, there's some weird like publisher things behind that. I never actually got an answer from that. Actually, weird little thing. If you guys want to do an aside, I don't know who here's a Yacht Club fan. Are you guys excited about what they're announcing? Something apparently big on Tuesday.
I'll be checking it out. I'll probably be doing the news on that one.
I hope to God, for their sakes, I hope to God it is not just another spin-off game or something they are. I hope it is. The rumor is 2 things. It's either the next proper Shovel Knight game, not a spin-off, because there's like 3 Shovel Knight spin-offs. 2.
Yeah, because there's the Kings thing, and there's like 3 different. They're technically on the same cart.
Well, no,
and then there's also the multiplayer.
No. Actually, this is different because there's the one that just came out in December, Puzzle Knight, like the puzzle Shovel Knight, and then there's another one of like Shovel Knight Dig. But no, this is the rumors. It's either going to be the next Shovel Knight, like Shovel Knight 2, which will be in 3D, like an N64 game, or because of the phrasing they've used, because they've used the word mega a lot, is that they are making a Mega Man game, which would be crazy.
Ooh, that would be cool. Shovel Knight is a 3DS game. Dude, Shovel Knight's on the 3DS, Demi Crow.
Do you remember that Shovel Knight launched as a Wii U and 3DS exclusive?
I thought it was on the Vita pretty early on, if not right away.
The Vita one was late. So
the physical version was late.
It was they were all late actually. So digitally at launch, it was PC, Wii U, and 3DS because that was the Kickstarter goal. And then a year later, it came to PS3, PS4, Vita with God of War as an exclusive feature. And then a year after that, they got it on Xbox with Battletoads. And then a year after that, it was Switch.
Yes, with no extra things other than the amiibo. Yeah, I know what you're talking. Dude, I have played through Shovel Knight. I love Shovel Knight. Okay. I do think it's interesting that Shovel Knight wound up in Ukulele too, didn't it?
Well, I mean, to be fair, Shovel Knight. No offense, Shovel Knight's like a whore. Shovel Knight will go anywhere.
Isn't it in Smash Bros of some sort too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Like a trophy or something. Anyways, we are getting pretty late on this podcast. I would say the most we're going to do is another 10 minutes. So is there anything that you guys would like to discuss in regards to updates or firmware or anything else? Spencer or Andrew?
I mean, they're a necessary evil.
How about oh, wait, go ahead, Spencer. I'll jump in after you say anything that you want to say.
So I've learned to be less pessimistic about it, which, like, trust me, there's a lot of things, especially because, like, I think there could be a whole discussion about, like, there's nothing more heartbreaking than when you get a Vita game physically and you find out the update is larger than the game itself. Like, that just, like, when memory is so precious on that system, it's so stupid.
Yeah, when the max memory you can have officially is 64 gigs.
Yeah, but I will say I've learned to really appreciate it for a lot of other things of, like, I've liked when you've seen games that are like, dude, you didn't need to get updated that much. Like, I think of things like Burnout Paradise with all the free updates that game got. That game got so much crazy stuff before they ever started charging for anything. I think of games that have gotten really, really good support, like fighting games. I think have mustered a lot of, like, fighting games are like that thing of if you don't patch a fighting game, they're mad at you. Other things basically just being like fixing things that are, because, like, think about, like, on the opposite side, before we had patching, who remembers having to mail Nintendo your save data for Metroid Other M? Who enjoys the Skyward Sword fix my save data channel? Like, all of those little dumb things of, like, whoa, I don't ever want to do that again. So, like Andrew said, it's a necessary evil, but it is one of those things that I think it's better over time. But it is that it has to be, that evil has to be kept in check, because no one likes those situations when a game comes out and they just expect you, like seriously, this is how sad it is. When I bought the Uncharted collection, and actually Pokemon, I was like, there's got to be a huge update for these, I bet. Because, like, that's how it is. Like, you get a game, and it's like the update's as big as the game. Like, Pokemon has a, like, 50 megabyte update. It's very tiny. But to be fair, Nintendo's very legit. Like, Nintendo, I think, is one of the better companies out there of, like, they patch a game when they have to. They don't just do it willy-nilly. But, like...
And they release games that are usually finished.
Exactly. Like, and they have been for a very long time. Whereas, like, Uncharted, when I got that, even though that was just an HD collection, I was astounded it was only a 600 megabyte update. I was like, whew, okay, we're under a gig. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
See, I think it's important to look at it right now as it's a pendulum concept, right? Where obviously
you want to hit the sweet spot in the middle, but
when it was first introduced, it was, like, very necessary to make everything smoother, and then, like, it started to swing where the developers got kind of lazy with it, right? They were just like, oh, we can just fix it after launch. It's not a big deal. Quality control went down, and now it's starting to swing a little bit back. Except I think a few genres are forever tainted. I don't think it's fixed.
FPS.
Yeah, basically anything that's primarily multiplayer.
Now, have you guys ever noticed this is my last question for the podcast today. Have you guys noticed a game where you think the update ruined the game for you? Like, it nerfed the character so bad that you're like, I'm not playing this anymore. Or, for example, removed something from the game that you really liked, or that kind of a thing. Or glitched the game so bad you couldn't play it anymore either.
Skyrim DLC. Nothing too crazy, honestly. Nerfing usually is more of a multiplayer issue.
Necessary evil for multiplayer games.
Yeah.
What about you, Spencer?
I have a couple of weird ones of, like, I have some, but any that stick out in my brain, I have the game physically that I could just play it at launch patch. Like, a great example is Last Guardian. If you have the Last Guardian digitally, there's no way to play it at 60 FPS because they patched they basically patched in a forced locked frame rate.
Really?
Because it was having trouble running. Yeah, so if you play the Last Guardian on PS4 at launch, it was unlocked. It would just go all over the place from 30 to 60, whether it was Pro or a normal PS4. And they eventually patched it to lock it on all systems to 30 because it was like, okay, let's just patch this because people are making fun of us and this game took 9,000 years to come out. But if you play the game with a disc on your PS5, because obviously if you download through PlayStation, it downloads all the patches at the same time. If you download, if you put in the disc only to your PS5, the game runs at 4K 60 flawlessly, and it looks amazing. And that's the only way to experience that game.
I don't know about this, but this sounds like something Sony might do. Last of Us Remastered had an update when the Pro came out that made the normal PS4 run with a little less resolution.
Yeah, I mean, that's different though, right? I mean, they're trying to balance.
It might have just been frame rate stuff. Like, okay, we'll update this with a higher res for the PS4 Pro and at the same time lower the res to make the frame rate better. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, they're also trying not to burn out the regular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The infamous Second Son is the only game I've ever run into this, but it actually is like by default an unlocked frame rate.
Unlocked frame rate, yeah.
And my PS4 Pro was screaming on that game because it was like hitting like 100 frames. It was insanely high frames per second at points in that game, to where the point where my PS4 was like a jet engine. It was going so fast. And that was a little scary. I thought I was going to burn out my PS4 Pro playing Infamous Second Son. It's pretty funny. But
it's funny. Like I've lucked out with like the jet engine stuff of like I've had a launch PS4. I never actually no, I did a Slim. So I've had all three iterations basically of it, of launch, Slim, and a Pro. But I've always lucked out that I got a later model Slim, and I got, because if you guys remember, there was two different models of the PS4 Pro, one with a super loud fan and the other one with a normal fan. Yeah, so like
mine runs quiet most of the time.
Like, yeah, so what was funny was it was 2018 and later on, and I think I got the last PS4 Pro bundle they ever did with the Kingdom Hearts one, because that was 2019, and at that point, Sony really wasn't doing any like special edition systems outside of maybe Last of Us 2. I think Last of Us 2 might have been a PS4 Pro as well. Yeah. But like there were just a couple of those things of like, because people don't really talk about this. Like, I think in like 5 or 10 years you're going to find out Xbox One X and PS4 Pro are going to be really rare, because no one ever like knew how many of those were out there. Like, I don't have memories of, like, even before the pandemic, I don't have memories of just looking at the store shelves and going like, "Whoa, look at all these PS4 Pros and Xbox."
No, it's usually like one or two at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Like anytime you go to the GameStop, they have like one or two in stock.
But I never really saw a shortage of them either, right? It's not like people. I guess
if you actually look for them now, they're actually more expensive now than trying to buy like a Xbox Xbox Series S or a digital PS5, which is like crazy.
But Spencer, you have to understand, the PS4 Pro is the best way to remote play on the Vita.
It is true, and that's why my PS4 is just. I want you to know, I think about that sometimes. Of like, is it worth it? No, but I know that I could do it anytime I want. I could do it.
My PS4 Pro sits in the corner of my room, and when my wife's watching whatever she watches, it's sometimes my 600-pound life. Sometimes she watches. It depends on the.
My 600-pound
life. Watches that something. It's a good show. It's a good show.
Chris, please tell me your wife watches like a good amount of TLC. I need to know this.
Not really. She likes like Medici. She liked Altered Carbon.
Is she a Bravo?
Does she
watch any Bravo shows? Any Real Housewives?
No, a long time ago she did for a short period of time, but no.
I want you to ask. You can ask her this at any point. It doesn't have to be now. You can even reply to me at like 2 a.m. And even everyone out there, I welcome this challenge. I like just to hear this when you ask your partner this. What does your partner think of the shows? Because these are two very specific brands of shows I have an unhealthy obsession with. 90 Day Fiancé.
Oh shit.
And Dr. Pimple Popper.
No.
Well, mine watches all of the 90 ones. Yeah. every single
There's
series.
so many. If you think Kingdom Hearts has a lot of spinoffs, wait till you see how many spinoffs 90 Day Fiancé.
The show that my wife just finished watching was CSI. I think New York. She just watched all of that.
But yeah, for 90 Day, each season has its own spinoff. It seems
my wife likes the crime shows.
Chris,
and
I feel like you're like me, where like we like TV, but you just don't have enough time for TV. Like
I like TV, but if I'm watching TV with my wife, I'm usually gaming at the same time.
You are a gamer.
I usually if she's watching her show, I probably got the Vita or the Switch or even sometimes my 3DS, and I'm halfway paying attention to the show. There's only a few shows that I've been like so into, I put down the gaming system and I just watch it. And it's been like I watched CSI quite a bit with her. I watched Bosch. I liked that one quite a bit. Peaky Blinders, we watched that one together. Good one. Medici was really good. We watched that one. I put the console down for that one. But when she watches her, like I like Poldark, but she likes it way more than I do. And she's seen that one like 4 or 5 times. So like if that one comes on, I'm like, okay, I've already seen this, most of it at least once. So I'll just pick up my gaming console. Like, you watch your Poldark, babe. It's all good. And then she also likes a lot of sciencey stuff. She's really into science stuff. She doesn't really watch There was one year where I would come home, and it was like probably 2016, 2017 time frame, where I'd come home and I'd look at the TV and there'd be women screaming at each other. I'm like, oh, yep, not my show. And then like probably 4 months after that, it never came on the TV again. So I don't know. So I guess she watched it for a minute.
You got to keep her in check, though. Let her know she's a big nerd when she watches those shows.
A big nerd.
Yeah, you got to be like, yeah, look at this nerd over here. Look at it, learn about science.
Oh, yeah. She likes those. She likes the science shows a lot. I like them too, though, man. Engineering by trade. Thank you very much. All right. Anything else, Spencer?
No, I want you all to know, while I've been doing this, I have a literal stat sheet I've been hand filling out on note paper because I am trying to get a single platinum trophy in this PS3 game, and it has taken so many hours of my life, and I'm not even close to finishing.
Hey, hands up if you remember what the heck this is. You remember the Sweet 16 parties? I think it was MTV or something that used to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But yeah, so I have to thank both of you for letting me kill a little bit of time here, because I'm definitely in that period of like, I'm doing a mindless task for many, many hours.
That's how I feel about Hardcore Rosette Fan and Persona 4 Golden.
That's true. Ooh, that's a good question. What I might be doing might be more grindy because like
really
there's more variety, but not in a fun way. It's not in a fun kind of.
Maybe we'll talk offline, Spencer.
You know what's more grindy than all of that?
Getting through this podcast?
No, Care Bear mining in EVE Online.
Oh, jeez.
No, that's true. That would do it.
Spreadsheets in space. No, that was the other one, wasn't it?
No, that one is, if you're mining in EVE Online, that is literally spreadsheets in space. Especially depending on how many different characters you're playing.
And Andrew's like, I could be crypto mining right now, but I'm doing this instead.
What? No, I don't mine crypto.
Anyway, thank you, Spencer, for joining us for the latest episode of Nobody Watches the CHRILLCAST. And Andrew, as always, thank you for being the third co-host to the show. Appreciate you. So, Andrew, you haven't signed one of these off yet, and Will's not here, so you get the honor to figure out. I forgot how to
sign it off.
I'm just going to say something, and you make it up. Figure it out. Ready?
Okay.
And thank you, Spencer. Anybody who doesn't know Spencer, make sure you go check him out. Here, I'll pull his YouTube channel up one more time. Go check out Spencer's YouTube channel. He's almost at 6K. Look at you.
My wife says I put out a lot of good content to fall asleep to. So if you need like any help with that department, it'll help.
Good for you, Spencer. My wife doesn't even watch mine, let alone sleep while she listens to it. Anyways, as always, I'm Chris.
And I'm Andrew. And thank you for watching.
Hold on, Spencer didn't say anything.
Oh, whoops.
Now, Andrew's a real fan. He knows that I never actually do an outro. I just say something that doesn't actually mean anything. So I will count that as my outro. Please, Andrew, continue on.
There you go.
I was just going to say thank you for watching us ramble. So
you got to use the name of the podcast.
Ramble on CHRILLCAST.
There you go.
Yeah.
See y'all in the next one.